Okay. And here we are. I'm going to turn my phone off.
Here we are. Interrogation.
Oh, God. Why is it? Comes all the way out here. Interrogation.
Oh, my God.
All right. We're going to 3, 2, 1. You're going to clap. That was like a poor countdown. It worked. We were in sync.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out.
Thanks
I'm
for having
really excited.
Me too.
I know we have a little too much in common, so it always makes things a little more explosive.
Yeah.
And I mean, just on the way here, just picking you up, I felt that it was really refreshing to realize that some people are open to a conversation that could be challenging to the way that they live their life.
Sure.
Because I think what's more revealing of the person is not what they tell themselves they are, but I think it's this underlying drive. And I think that that's more reflective of the person in whatever state they're currently in. So by the end of this, I just hope we keep it as real as we started it.
Always.
And, well, why not? It was something we were talking about earlier in the car. I think the last thing that we left up on was the personal work that you do. And it was something you said, I just laughed at it. You're like, why is there a guy telling women how to be? And I just kind of wanted to know, like, what inspired that?
I truly believe that men are so powerful and so brilliant in their own ways. And so are women. But women lack their ability to listen to their intuition. And that's where I just hold up a mirror. I actually quite often don't even give advice. I'm just here to act as a mirror to women because the reason they're inspired by me, I always tell them, like, it's actually less to do with me. You see yourself in me and you just want to elevate, just like I see other women that I see a piece of myself in them and I want to elevate. So we're all, as women, just here to help elevate one another. When it comes to men giving women advice, it's not that I dislike them trying to help. I just think in order for men to give women advice, they'd have to really understand the female vessel. And the female vessel is so vastly different. And it's just one of those things that I would prefer women who are spiritual, that are well-rounded as coaches to help women. Not to say that there's not a place for men. I would just prefer that.
Oh, of course. I think that plays more into the vulnerability. Like, women really don't like that because they're going to those men. Well, I think that it's natural for a woman to seek male guidance. And I also, that's what I was saying to you, which I don't think you agreed with, which was there's a point where men actually have a much deeper understanding of what that is. And it's like, okay, well, a really tyrannical man would try to remove you from your essence that gives you your ability to exist as you are.
Agreed.
But the whole point of the power is to get you closer to that. Because if I'm connected to it myself, then I protect it in you. And what kind of man would I be if I remove that from the one thing that, instinctually speaking, and even on a spiritual level, I'm sworn to protect?
Correct.
And so there's a certain point, though, where you could be incredibly neglectful by not addressing women the way that they need to be addressed.
Let me stop you. You know the power of Kabbalah.
I mean, I'm going to deconstruct your spiritual coping mechanism, but yeah, we'll get to it.
You're spiritual, so good luck decomposing that.
No, so yeah, when we were also talking about, tikkun and a path, and I felt like that was powerful to utilize those terms because even when we talk about tikkun, we're also talking about karma and a person's path of their life, and to remove that from somebody's life would be to remove them from the love that they're looking for in the relationship.
Are we going to tikkun or are we going back
We're going to go back to the whole relationship thing.
Because you and I have ADD, so.
No, it's going to be like 1,000 different conversations, and we'll track them, and I'll have
we can't conflate the
slow
two.
down.
Yes.
No, we can't.
But I want to touch back on what you said about how men are here to lead women, which I believe so too. I think men are such leaders, and I love when like a man takes the lead and acts like a man. However, spiritually speaking, women have the vessel larger than men. That's why men, no matter what religion they are, they actually have to pray more than women. Women are here. Whoa. Women are here to spiritually protect men. That's why when men treat women poorly, their lives fall apart. Because spiritually speaking, Kabbalah states, and we know Kabbalah.
Well, I don't live my life by Kabbalah. Okay. I don't think Kabbalah is law. I think Kabbalah is at best very powerful insights that could help you connect more to
ancient wisdom,
the energetic components of reality.
Correct.
But if you remove it from its source, which is fundamentally biblical.
But it says that women are meant to lead men spiritually, and men are here to lead and guide us through the physical world.
Well, okay, so if you a little bit
which
about
I believe.
That's taken out of context, because if you take that literally, you have men neglecting women, because women don't just seek; they seek men for what they themselves are connected to. Like, for example, if I'm going to make sure that I conform to every idea that you have, I've neglected you as a woman. And it won't make you feel any more safe, especially because I'm not speaking for myself and what I'm connected to.
You're only focused on what the other person needs and desires, and that's not necessarily a balanced relationship.
No, of course. And that neglects you because
Correct.
what you're looking for is what I'm connected to that exists intrinsically. And when...
Or to teach each other. The agenda should always be to help and teach and grow together.
Well, that's easier said than done. And so I think that, like, right now I'm speaking to a more confused state of relationships than I am just the clear one, because
Sure.
I feel like we've become disembodied from even the things that we say. Like, if we're really talking about what real leadership looks like, even on an energetic level, there is a feminine essence that exists in a man as part of his development that makes him a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an intimate relationship with that covenant.
Beautiful.
That becomes manifested in a union with a woman.
Correct.
And now she's safe. But before that process, it's hard to say that your relationships aren't utilized as a way to avoid the path of your life. And I think that's more natural than the other way around. To lead a relationship implies you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And
the agenda should always be unity and to help coexist and build and share gifts, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
I find myself with people in my past that are very similar to me, but they always share beautiful things with me, and I've always shared beautiful things with them. And it really should always come down to the unity and the goal to elevate souls together as much as possible.
Yeah, which is what the other conversation I was having with you in the car, which I thought was interesting, because it's just something interesting. You turn on a camera and it's like, okay, wait, I want to go back there, because that was really raw. It was really raw. It was raw.
Okay.
And it was talking to you a little bit about the kind of guy you're looking for.
Sure.
And you have your ambitions, and I think that's a beautiful characteristic. But I believe that they're unintegrated from what serves your best interest, right?
Expand.
And so, because you clearly you want to help people. I think that's really true. You
women.
Really do.
I have a mission to help women. Yes.
To help women specifically.
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious. How do you do that? Just give me more clarity here.
Women deal with so much, to the point where there's a lot of pain in the silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced so many of these things, which most people wouldn't assume because of the way I carry myself. But I believe that if you can go through significant pain and carry yourself with grace, it should always be a mission to help others go through that as well, as gracefully as possible.
So what kind of struggle in particular? Because, like, I do the same thing. You know,
we're going there?
I'm one of those guys that tells women how to live their lives.
You name it, I probably have experienced it.
Well,
but
no,
that's
I think
a
it's
deeper combo.
Why not? I feel like it's far more compelling, especially if this is something that fulfills you, and it's
Sure.
something that you would claim to be a non-negotiable if you had a relationship that potentially made you compromise it, which, of course, I don't think
I would
you'd
never
be doing.
compromise, yeah.
I don't think you can compromise your vision as a woman, but I think you can change the way you manifest it. I don't think you embodying it as the way that a man would will help you manifest that.
No, I would agree.
You want to.
But I would never want to embody it as a man. That's why I do things to always make sure I'm tapping into something that's not masculine driven. Something I was taught by one of my mentors that I always explain to women now. I spoke about this at NASA. There's, like, obviously not that many females that work at NASA, and they're in their masculine all day.
Very specific kind of women that works at NASA.
Correct.
I think that's the
brilliant. I mean, these women were like, boom, just brilliant, sharp, articulate, just unbelievable. But my agenda going in there was, okay, how do we balance that masculine and feminine? Because they both go hand in hand and they're imperative. And you don't want to not use your brilliance and your brains at work. That's why you're here. You're chosen to be here because you add so much value. But something my mentor taught me, she was like, when women are incredibly bright or articulate or smart or work-driven, they need to always do things that aren't masculine, aka things that aren't result-driven. I was like, fine, give me an example. She was like, painting. She was like, you're the type that would paint something and it needs to be pretty enough to hang in your home. She's like, do it with the intention.
She said that to you?
Yes.
Okay,
and I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't want it to be beautiful enough to hang into my home. She's like, in order to find that feminine, and this is just one example, of course. She was like, in order to find that feminine energy as much as possible, do it without a result desired. Just do it to have that creative expression.
Yeah, trying to.
And I thought that was really interesting, and I use that a lot.
So that's what I find, but the masculine environments typically cater to that. And so this is what I was speaking to you about earlier. it's because I have a much deeper understanding of it. Like typically when women are in their 30s, the last something that really spoke to me was what one of my clients told me, and it was quite moving. That her whole life she's been in the corporate world, and she climbed the corporate ladder, and she runs that business at that point, and she finally got to validate all of her insecurities of telling men what to do, like as if that was a valuable pursuit at all.
Sure.
And
for
then,
her at the time, it was.
Well, she got exactly what she wanted,
Sure.
right? And it was like, well, that also manifested in her relationships, right?
Sure.
This is the whole component of integrating the dark nature, the feminine dark nature, collectively allows you to address your insecurities without you being afraid of them.
Beautiful.
Because you can do what she did, which is in a lot of ways, married a man that she can control and tell what to do.
Sure.
Which didn't keep her safe, and she had 2 children.
And she probably ended up resenting him. There ends up actually for women being a lot of resentment when there aren't the boundaries.
Of course. And then all he has to say to her is, well, I did everything that you wanted, right? And it's like, well, no, you've actually neglected her in every way, which is back to the earlier conversation that
Correct.
I think it's natural for women to seek male guidance in relationship to their understanding of themselves. Now, the way that women do it is very unique. And I don't think that it's a question of advice or guidance. I think it's through embodiment.
Beautiful.
And for any woman, especially even you, which is what I was saying, that like, okay, you're doing a lot of female empowerment.
Sure.
I think female empowerment that's disembodied is you behaving like the concept of strength, not embodying that. And I think that's what really
why
helps
always number one agenda, practice what you preach. Words mean nothing if you're not following it. And I truly believe, of course, I'm not in my most perfected state, but I truly believe I embody it. I mean, I always want to be a better version of myself. I always want to be kinder, smarter, more spiritual, more my agenda is always to be the most elevated version of my soul. How do I get to that? What is my higher self always telling me in moments where I'm frustrated, reactive? What does the higher version of Liz act like? She acts the most like God. She comes from a place of giving, of not taking, of not being reactive. These are things that are really important to me.
What about things like reactive, selfish, and manipulative?
Absolutely.
Where does that fit for you?
Human nature is to have moments like that, but how do we, in that moment, be cognizant of it?
I wouldn't consider them moments. I'd consider them parts of yourself. And
I disagree.
I don't think they're moments.
I think there's moments. I don't think it's always necessarily through and through. This is who you are.
I wouldn't identify with it either. I would definitely say that it's a part of you.
Yeah.
And I think that helps people integrate it. Like there's a reason why I utilize the word manipulative or selfish.
Yes. We talked about this earlier. I was like, it can have a negative connotation.
I said, just imagine in your relationships, like if you're trying to protect yourself and you've made a bunch of other commitments to your life, to think that that's going to be easy for you is going to be really, really difficult. That these moments are going to feel very relevant with another man that you meet. And so I wanted to know, what does that look like for you? What kind of man do you want? Especially at this point in your life.
Like what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, we were talking about earlier.
For me, it's interesting, like as I age, my desires are different, right? When I was in my 20s, a man that was more spiritual was not imperative to me. It just wasn't, because I wasn't there at all. In fact, I didn't even care. But because I always had that within me, I just never brought it out. I didn't even know it was a desire of mine. So as I age, now my needs are just significantly different. I need someone spiritual. I need someone funny. I need someone deep. I need someone that's really well-versed in business, someone that's kind, someone that has a lot of integrity. Integrity, for me, doesn't matter how spiritual you are. If you don't have integrity, what does it matter? If you know all the spiritual laws, if you're religious,
I'm saying that I don't
without integrity.
I think that you became more connected to your values as you got older.
Yes.
Which means that when you were younger, that was not something on your consciousness.
Yes, it wasn't even really discussed.
It wasn't even really discussed, which I think that's all I'm really speaking to here.
Yeah.
I mean, not your first marriage, right?
That's my first.
That's your first, but that's out of the picture now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to say that if this is not being taught to young women, and I'm saying that because this is more important than probably anything that any woman could ever learn in their whole life, which is what you value, you typically discover when you're older. And that's not a place you want to discover that, because you lose a lot of leverage in the choices that you make. Now, I'm not of the opinion that you couldn't go ahead and make a big change in your life.
I did a course on this at USC. I was like, imagine if women understood.
They probably hated you after.
No, they took well to it. I was like, at the end of the day, we really need to understand what our values are and what makes us happy, and to have boundaries and to move through life in a way that you are really confident in who you are and whatever the hell that is. It looks so different for everyone.
I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say. So like when I get a lot of the female empowerment removed from the perseverance of the feminine essence is behaving like a man.
But it's not that, I don't teach it that way.
I'm sure you don't.
I don't, because let men be men and let women be women. However, empowerment is not like, I think people think of like, women in the workforce and they have to work and screw men and we don't need men and we can make money. And it's like, yeah, all those things can be true. However, why not do it in a way that is also softer and in a way that's kinder to yourself, first and foremost, which then in turn becomes kinder to men. It doesn't have to be harsh and like this all the time. Like you can have all those things. I believe you can have it all, but
so that's what I was going to say, that the have it all
doesn't have to be that harsh.
I don't know if that's true. Not in the way that you're communicating it. And I'm only saying that because I think that that's part of like Eve's susceptibility to the serpent. It was part of her vulnerability she became conscious of after eating the fruit.
Sure.
But
she had it all, she was preemptive.
Well, what I'm saying that what it seems to me is that the snake feeds into a part of the feminine, which is you can be like God. And that's like all sustaining. It's security beyond security. And there's also, by the way, certainty. You also don't need to rely on Adam, which was part of an initial contract, that there was a 1/2 into 2. So that vulnerability existed even prior to them being conscious.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah, but then again, to have it all, I don't feel is what we're looking for, not in that sense.
Okay. You cannot desire something that doesn't exist for you. This is a very important thing to comprehend.
Well, what do you mean?
Desire comes from, like I remember I said to you earlier, words give you the ability to understand something. Experience allows you to know. But there are some things you cannot experience yet. So the universe gives you other ways of knowing. This is called thoughts or feelings. That intuition is that guiding light in your life.
Yeah.
Women need to learn the ability to listen to that guiding light.
Do you know that's one of the hardest things to do in the world if you've trained yourself to be so distant from all of your vulnerabilities as a woman? Do you know how difficult that is?
Correct. That's why
it's almost
I'm here
impossible.
To help women see that.
It becomes a concept in their head of emotions and feelings. And their emotions and feelings become something they weaponize against other people.
100%.
And if they don't weaponize them, then they see them as weak. And then they continue to bury them and have to place them in boxes. And at very few points in their life, they have access to them. And so when you take something like an intimate relationship, which when you say to have it all, it's through that. And I don't want to reduce anything that you're saying here, but I think it's really important to understand the desire and how it manifests is also relative to who you are. And you have to be able to understand that.
But you cannot desire something that does not exist for you. Whether it's
I agree with you completely.
Relationship,
it's just
career,
a question of how
child.
it manifests. It's a question of how it manifests.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
For you have your ambitions. You want to empower women and you want to speak publicly to them and you want to help them embody this feminine presence, which is great. And I said that, what kind of guy do you want? And you describe yourself. And I said, that's going to be a little conflicting.
Hi.
Because it doesn't have anything more than its sum total. What I'm presenting here is that if there was a vulnerability you had to this relationship.
Like attracts like. You can only attract people at your level.
But you're going to butt heads.
Sure.
Because I know the nature.
How fun is that?
You're fun.
How
you're
fun is that?
You're very fun.
How fun is that? Isn't life meant to be exciting and thrilling and
but this isn't the
learning?
Challenge. The challenge is the dissoluting of the prior identity when you meet somebody.
Okay.
Because you're going to intensify in your strengths. But your relationship with your strengths for a long time can only be discovered through your vulnerabilities.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
If you met this man, ambitious, he wants to change the world, not just women.
Mission driven.
And that's why I think dating is really just a question of how connected you are to your divine mission. And then it's very easy. But if it's not, then it's one of the most difficult pursuits in your life.
Beautiful. Yeah, agreed.
You're running through so many options and you have to adopt unconditional tolerance as a way to deal with people you marry.
Without a doubt.
So I think that there's something, what I wanted to say is that if that came into your life, what I feel when I speak to you is that you're very aligned with that combined joint vision.
Yes.
Because when you think about Ronald Reagan, there wasn't a speech he did not compliment his wife. And
I know, I loved that.
It's very beautiful, by the way.
I loved that.
And I feel that if
he knew the power of what she brought to his life.
Every time.
Really cool.
And I feel like that's maybe what's been lost in a lot of ways is that, if over years of time the feminine isn't appreciated for what it does, it's going to take another way. And I think that's true for even men. It's like, well, if this doesn't matter, then why do I need to be honest? If it's not respected, if it's not considered, then what good is my truth? Which is why I don't think that we can ever blame society for anything, because that's just going to be a never-ending
You
opposition.
could blame society for money issues, politics, relationships. It's all you create the world around you anyway. So if you want to focus on all that, you can, or you can go inwards and then change and
But again,
manipulate the
lot
world
easier
around
said
you.
than done. Like, you meet this man, the likelihood of this not being explosive and reminding you of your childhood in your Moroccan household with your
It depends on your
Ashkenaz Jewish
consciousness.
mother.
Depends on your consciousness.
Okay, great. So then we're talking about that. You're clearly a conscious person. That what you're looking for is going to challenge the current way you live your life. So
That's not my consciousness around it, though.
what do you mean?
Why would it have to challenge my life? Why can't it complement my life?
Well, because there's the challenge that I'm speaking about here is the one that allows you to become the best version of yourself. And that's where your commitment is.
Sure.
And to have this part-time, this is what most people's relationships are. I'm a motivational speaker, you're a motivational speaker, and we kind of both keep this front-end thing and we meet each other at the weekend.
I don't know if I would necessarily end up with another motivational speaker.
Well, somebody who's mission-oriented, and to think that your
You could be
mission...
mission-oriented in plenty of ways.
Okay.
You could
I'm
be
open.
in tech.
What do you...
You could be in tech and you want to change the way the world views some sort of tech advancement. You could be a veterinarian and want to implement a way for animals to be healthier and faster with a pill that changes the way they digest food that's not appropriate for them.
I feel like,
that's mission-driven.
I feel like all of that's very dangerous. I'm saying
You're mission-driven.
Yeah, but I'm mission-driven, but not for the reasons you would think. You know, like this whole journey of me being here was a commitment to improve my life. That's it. Like, this came to me later. When I was willing to put this aside, it wasn't a question of like, I'm going to change millions of people's lives. I think it was, I want to change mine.
Beautiful.
My life is unlivable right now, or at least at the current time that it was. And it was like, I need to do well for myself.
So you were seeking the answers for yourself to then in turn help others.
Yes, but there was a point where I became disembodied from that because I realized I can convince other people I'm growing and I don't need to anymore.
Sure.
That's when I started dying inside. Like, when you talk about the commitment that a person has to make around this, it's more revealing of vulnerabilities. And then I really wanted a purpose, you know, because I recognize that to be true. But what the purpose did to my life was shine a light on everything I did not like experiencing or feeling. And it took my insecurities and amped them up to 1,000.
Beautiful.
That's how I knew.
Isn't that so powerful, though, to be able to like see that, understand, to digest it? Because then you can teach it to others, right? Like all the things that have happened to me, I remember being like, why did this happen to me? Like, I don't understand. And then once I really understood spirituality and how everything was happening for me, not to me, I was like, wow, like imagine if every woman looked at their life like, here, this is happening for you so you can alchemize it. Turn that and alchemize it into power.
Well, again, I'm only saying that a lot of where you're speaking from here, or even the thoughts they're very, very masculinely structured.
I don't believe that.
Because not many of them have to really
Not many people know how to alchemize. That's a very feminine thing.
Alchemization is, of course,
seeing the world through a spiritual lens.
But where's the point where? And I'm only saying this because I feel like it's typically not a conversation that a lot of people can have. It's when we talk about emotions and you talk about embodiment, we're talking about that in relationship to your body as a woman. So that conversation is revealing of more vulnerabilities because now you're not just existing.
Oh, so you correlate it to a physical body.
They're both, yes. That's what I'm saying. That when you speak, I notice it's very heady. And
interesting, because I think of embodiment as practicing what you preach from the inside out. That's, for me, embodiment means like deep, deep, deep.
I think women embody this truth, and it's mirrored. Men have to integrate that truth. It's literally embodied physically. When you get pregnant, you carry a baby in your body.
Yes.
When you give birth to that baby, you experience a complete and total emotional depletion. And the person is usually experiencing what you consider postpartum. And now the modern way to deal with that is...
I feel like we should chat GPT what the actual definition of embodiment means, because it's so interesting.
Well, okay, for example, a disembodied consciousness. Here's a disembodied consciousness.
Yeah.
Meaning that my thoughts don't exist with any of the experience relative to me. And I have a story that I've created due to my elaborate intellect of who I am.
Well said.
You know, the shit's scary. That majority of people have disembodiment.
Oh,
meaning
for sure.
That they do not have a connection with their body. And when we talk about a woman's relationship with her body, the next conversation that comes up is sex.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
That the sexual experience.
That's not what I would go to initially.
Where would you go?
So interesting, because I actually saw it so differently. I see like embodiment as like, that's great to know the actual definition. I'm like, wow, I actually never knew the definition of it. For me, embodiment means like, how do you embody your life? How do you move through your life? Not even in a physical way, but I'm not super spiritual. So for me, it's always like,
I think
deep in.
You're intellectually spiritual. I think and I remember I said this to you before, and you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. Please don't bite me. And I said that you're disconnected. And
I don't agree.
What I meant to say, because I'm going to now provide further explanation, which is your understanding of embodiment is removed from your physical body, and this is typically something that women experience as a way to protect themselves. That's a real conversation to have, because here's what happens over a long enough period of time. It's funny, I said sex. What did you say? I said sex is the first thing.
For me, physical meant like, how do you feel within your body? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel safe? Do you like your body? Do you like your skin? Do you like that? For me is where I went, not sex.
Well, yeah, of course. I actually, I want to take it there. It's going to be misunderstood, but I feel like that's where actually it would make more sense.
Yeah.
And when I talk about sex, I'm not talking about the reductive understanding of most people's understanding of sex. No, I'm talking about real sex, which means the source of creation, all creativity as we know it.
Beautiful.
It is the driving force in every individual's life, and it is a symbolic manifestation of union. Beautiful. Now, if that's not beauty, then I don't know what is.
I agree.
And so when a woman embodies that, the impact is created, and it's no longer a proclamation. Because I mean, like, as men, the responsibility we have is pretty much, it's a very, very big one. I think that's usually not spoken about, which is the male vulnerability is all of the vices that you have, and perhaps you're not aware of how dangerous you can be.
Oh, for sure.
And actually how dangerous you are, especially if you find that out later in your life. You're extraordinarily dangerous. And compounded with that danger, or all of the things that you can utilize to hurt others, you can utilize that against yourself. And if you remove a story of an underlying meaning around what exactly is this for, and I think that's kind of what happened. It's like, if men aren't connected to that, then the whole idea of being able to protect and provide for women when it's embodied, not just as an idea, a concept of masculinity, is actually a very vulnerable thing, because I could believe it could be misunderstood. I believe that it could be misunderstood incredibly deeply.
Yes.
And again, I think that right now men and women are probably more misunderstood than they've ever been to each other, because look, I have my men's group and my women's group, and if I were to talk about a mirror, it's almost identical. In fact, like, if you put yourself in any of their shoes, you realize that I notice that men just need to have a feeling of, I can do this. That's it. That, I'd say, is the big difference. And the women are more willing to take your guidance on it. And that's also why men are kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah, I'd also love to see men speak to other men in terms of understanding consciousness. I think they would be more receptive to a man who they feel they're inspired by, right? Because men hear that word and they're like, oh, it's woo-woo. It's like, it's nonsense.
A who they're inspired by?
If other men are listening to men that they're inspired by, they're more inclined to listen to the word like the thought of consciousness, because everything is consciousness. Everything is what you believe, how you speak. This is how you manifest the world around you.
Well, no, actually, I completely disagree. And that's because I think a lot of the modern personal development is disembodied. You are not your thoughts. You couldn't be further away from your thoughts.
You are your thoughts.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
You're not your thoughts. Because your intimate relationships tell the story of your life more than anything else.
You are your thoughts. You are your words. You are everything. The way you speak. That's why it's called spelling. It's a spell. The way you speak, the way you think. Again, it is all... It's part of it.
It's Tony Robbins. It's designed to get people to feel like they can control certain things about themselves.
It's not about control.
What's it about?
It's about how you choose to move through your life. Do you want to see miracles all the time, or you don't?
I don't think, like I said, that's not where it happens. This is not where it happens. This is where it happens.
Both.
You could say that there's definitely a coherence.
I was just talking about that, but the heart, I'm a Cancer sign. Of course, I'm heart-led. Everything I do is heart-led. It's gotten me in trouble.
For example,
but it's both.
That's not actually what got you in trouble. I feel like that's typically the most powerful part of yourself. And like all things that are very powerful, if you don't learn them, they get you in trouble.
Yes.
Right?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Look, because, just even in that conversation about, when we talked about embodiment, right? And this is something interesting. Look, I'll speak openly here about my family and what that looked like for even my mother. And,
sure.
I mean, the classic Moroccan. Right? But of course, who did she marry?
I think everyone should know. So Naftali and I realized and connected over the fact that we're both Moroccan and very strong and obviously have a voice. And I just think that's so cool.
I think it's cool, but I'll also tell you where it sucks. And I'm only saying that because I've recognized that there's a duality that needs to be integrated.
Wait, what sign are you?
I'm a Cancer.
You're a Cancer?
Yeah, my birthday is in like 5 days.
No way.
4 days,
oh my
5 days,
God,
5
this
days,
makes
yeah.
so much sense. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. Wow. What if you're like the male version of me?
I don't even want to respond to that.
But like a little harder and
one
like
second.
not as soft.
You know what? I'm actually, what I wanted to actually dispute is I would even say that I'm softer.
You think so?
Your essence absolutely.
Because Cancers are so, people need to know, like Cancers are very, very, very tough on the outside, but very soft and like sensitive on the inside.
I think that's.
Oh my God, Naftali, are you like, do you cry alone? You could like get emo?
I will, absolutely. I don't have any, there's no shame in that.
I love that.
And it's not because I'm a Cancer.
That's so beautiful.
Do you?
I'm very emo. Oh my God,
Do you
I could
cry alone?
I could cry. The craziest things make me cry. Seeing animals in pain, that kills me. Cancers are like, we love animals.
I don't.
Well, you're a little. You're not so soft.
Look, here's the thing. I don't expect. I've come to this point in my life, especially when it comes to opening up or creating emotional availability. I wanted to take this into the intimate relationships.
Yes.
Because I don't feel that we're creating the impact that we want to create as men and women, and I think that you're truly committed to that impact, or else I wouldn't be speaking to you.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're really committed to that impact, it's not on the way that you manifest it. And I think that you want it all, you can have it all, just not on the way that you think. And it's
up to God.
And it's going to be, in a lot of ways, a lot to do with the feelings that you have.
Sure.
And just speaking from my experience, when you spoke about my sensitivity, crying was never something I would do. It was the idea of emotions were transactional. Why would it? What's the utilitarian aspect of sadness?
I would never even think that way. What's the utilitarian?
You tell me.
For me, it's important to feel things. It's important to sit in it too. Part of what I always tell women is, instead of avoiding it, sit in it. It's okay to sit in it, but give yourself time. But then you got to keep it moving. Mm-hmm. But don't avoid that.
That right there.
But don't avoid
that
it.
right there.
But
give
don't
it some time, and then you got to keep it moving.
You got to.
You've heard the get up on the horse speech, right?
You got to feel it, but then you also have to move on.
1 second.
And when I say move on, not like get over it, move on. Like feel it, sit in it, allow yourself to feel that pain. You're human. You're not a robot.
But not too long.
Not too long. There's not a time limit. But you have to take it. You have to alchemize it at one point. You don't want to let it suffocate your life.
Well, that's your belief about emotions.
Depends what kind of person you're dealing with.
Well,
some women
like
aren't
I said,
like
we're
that.
not. I'm not. None of my work caters to
It's
a lower level
nuanced.
of consciousness. I'm only saying that because I would much rather be misunderstood and enjoy myself.
Do you want to use that pain? For example, there's someone in my life in my family. She allowed that pain to turn her into a victim. I used the pain. I said, I'm going to alchemize this.
Yeah.
Don't sit in it and play victim forever.
It has nothing to do with the emotions. That's the product of resisting emotions. You know, experiencing pain brings you closer to your vulnerabilities. Most people's relationship with their vulnerabilities is weakness. And they confuse that. And it's separating them from the source of their strength.
This is 100% correct.
I could be honest with you here that I don't know. Give me a second. Just because it's, I want to communicate it honestly. And I don't think that's in a pretty way. I think it's in a real way. There's a fear around emotions I have. And it's not the conventional fear. It's because I fear losing control. Now,
most men do.
Most men?
Yeah, probably all.
I would start with women.
Oh, you
think
so?
They're far more familiar with that vulnerability.
Wow, really?
Especially if they're not protected and safe.
Oh, sure.
And imagine you were intelligent and neurotic.
Most fear. I would say 99% of men fear losing control.
Of course, and I think it's reasonable. I wouldn't just attribute it to men. I attribute it to men and women, and it manifests differently. And I think for men, in a lot of ways, you start to have to create identities of strength, but they're usually poorly imagined identities of strength.
I would agree.
Because right now what we're talking about is a connection to vulnerabilities. And this is a much more difficult conversation because it does dissolute a lot of your identities. For example, I have, speaking of your friend, when a person resists emotions over long periods of time, you create what you call classified depression. right?
Oh, for sure.
Now, most people's depression is not the honest kind. It's manic. Meaning, when I'm here on this podcast with you, I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. And I'm performative, and I'm charming, and I'm quick, and I'm fast.
Sure.
But when the cameras turn off and the curtains close, I hate being with myself. That's what it's like.
Yeah,
Now,
that's crazy.
That's
to feel that it's very heavy.
That's more real.
Yeah.
I think you even share that too in a lot of ways, but I won't share some of the things you share. But.
No. That's something I feel very safe with myself. And I feel very confident in my ability to process my emotions. When I was younger, perhaps not so much. I allow myself to feel everything. I don't feel shame or guilt for it at all.
Loss? Sadness?
Yeah, I feel it. And I sit in it.
What does it bring you closer to?
Myself and God.
Okay, there's some truth to that. And the only reason why I'm saying that is, what is it around?
What has it been around?
Yeah, what has it been around?
Divorce.
Beautiful. Okay, that was cool.
I almost died giving birth.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Wow.
A lot of things.
I like that. That's really powerful.
A lot of things.
I mean, both of those things you just described was your relationship with your femininity. You didn't say your work.
No.
You said divorce and birth.
Yeah, for sure. Like things that are very, very intimate for my life.
Of course.
Which work, of course, is, but on a personal level.
That's what I'm trying to say is that, like, your emotions really revolved around those experiences.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
but those experiences are technically the experiences that brought you closest to yourself, which are surrounding your feminine essence and the vulnerabilities of them.
Yes. Really helped me understand myself.
You will suffer in childbirth is a biblical quote that's told to Eve after she leaves the garden.
I didn't know that. What?
Yeah, it's really powerful. I'll tell you. So after the fall from paradise, that they both eat of the tree, and then from the tree, God recognized why they're hiding. Once they're hiding, He tells everybody the new world, and this is the world that they're going to live in. Because if you've eaten of this consciousness, then here's what it's going to look like. You're going to become more aware of your vulnerabilities, and I think that's what made them initially run, is that they saw they were naked, and then they were afraid. But it didn't change. They were still in the garden, right? But there was an implied consciousness to the fear of their nakedness, an understanding of their vulnerabilities, and a shame in relationship to it. They were exposed, but what exposed them was consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is the world that we know, the world outside of paradise. And you could say the world outside of paradise is the one that's not reintegrated consciousness back to its state of innocence, which is technically, it's a forward path, not a backwards path. The return to innocence is forward. And
beautiful.
There was something powerful about the vulnerabilities component that He speaks to Adam. And it's like, well, Adam has a tough vulnerability, which is, the ground will hardly yield its fruit, and through blood, sweat, and tears, you will have your food. You will have your provision. From dust you are made, and from dust you will return. And I think that's so
powerful.
So powerful.
So
like
powerful.
It's speaking to the male psyche right there.
It's so simple and so powerful.
And for women, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
In childbirth, you will suffer. Your craving will be for your husband, and he will rule over you.
Interesting. I've never heard that.
And I feel that that's a hard, and you might say, well, that I don't want to accept that. That feels weak, that men can rule over me.
It can only feel weak if it's an imbalance of power, but there's actually a lot of strength to that.
Nothing to do with it.
But there's a lot of strength to it. You missed the part that was important.
There is strength to it.
If there's an imbalance of power, because both are so powerful in their own ways, but the agenda should always be balance.
I think the vulnerability is that it isn't. Not that we are not equal. I think that our equality exists in an intrinsic level, but the difference is being displayed here. And that difference is revealing of the vulnerabilities. If men do rule over women, and that's a vulnerability of their life, they have two options: cope with it or connect to it.
Beautiful.
Connecting to it makes you more aware of the man that you would adopt as your authority. And I promise you that's what you want, unless you like leading him down the street.
No.
And showing him his left hand from his right hand and how to wipe his ass.
That's not interesting.
Unfortunately, most women make that choice.
Yes, they do.
And this isn't just something that just happens overnight,
But it's actually, I retract that statement. I don't know why I just agreed with you on that, because I don't agree with you on that. You said most women do. Maybe most women because you attract strong women, because your mom's like that. And other women are strong.
Okay.
However, most women that I work with are not interested in that. A lot of them come from relationships with a man is incredibly controlling or degrading, or he doesn't want her to work. So perhaps you've attracted women like that.
Well, I work
But
with those exact women.
I wouldn't say most women. Can't box women like that either.
Well, then I could just go ahead and show you the appropriate reason is for generalizing that. I think that if you're not connected to your vulnerabilities, and as a whole, in Western culture, there's no real story that allows a woman to feel connected to themselves, and I feel that they're going to be far more lost and confused and susceptible to predators. They're far more likely to not pick the men that make them feel terrified. And I think that that's not an observation of women. I think that's an observation of humanity, that we're going to go for the lowest common denominator, especially when the highest one terrifies us. And that makes our choices. That's a very reduced level of consciousness, and I wouldn't attribute that to everybody. And so even when a woman does pick a man that's perceivably more masculine, I mean, that's its own kind of tyranny. I mean, it's a very specific kind of thing. I'm talking about...
So what's your idea of a masculine man?
Oh, I mean, that's a difficult question. Because I don't have an idea of it. Again, I think that the conceptualization... It's
an embodiment, yeah.
Yeah, the conceptualization of masculinity is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it's removed from the vulnerabilities that it experiences, right? And I think that it's interesting because I really like that question. I want to take my time with it.
Yeah, it's something that you definitely... It's not such an easy statement. It's a feeling. It's a movement. It's the way you move through life, the choices you make.
It's not your... And the way that I know I'm connected to it is that it's not my main concern.
Beautiful.
It's a product of a deeper connection.
Yep.
And
yeah.
I make that my aim, especially when it comes to living as an embodied man. And I noticed that it's not at all anything that you're seeing. In fact, that, like, I could describe it a little bit to you. It's the conscious willingness to go places that you have rejected your whole life and to live with a certain kind of bravery. When all of those things you discovered, you don't see anywhere else.
I always find that the people I'm very drawn to that are very masculine or very feminine, they have a sense of humility. Like humility and integrity is so important for me. Like I find that people who have a lot of humility, who are saying things along the lines of like, I'm so impressed with myself that I've been able to do X, Y, and Z. And these are the things I'd like to improve on. Like I find people who are either feminine or masculine to always have humility.
There's
whichever they are.
Well, of course.
I think that's really like, it's just talk about embodiment, like humility is so important.
Yeah, because it's odd, if I get a guy joining my group and he tells me like, I want to be more masculine, I'm like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
First off, what's your
what
concept
is masculine?
of it?
Yeah.
What are you serving exactly?
Yeah, because everyone has such a different concept.
It's also very elaborate. It's typically very protective in everything they want to avoid. So they'll create a concept that conforms
for them, it's probably
with
money,
they
physical. They probably just like are in terms. I'm assuming, right, that's what
in a lot of ways
masculine is.
Because they also associate it to a form of power, and that's what I want to
Sure.
talk with you about, which is that's the current bedding of modern relationships: power.
Yes.
And it makes sense, especially when you're surviving. You're going to need things like transactions. You're going to need to be very tactical.
Sure.
You're going to need to make sure that you have your cards out, but don't show all your cards. Make sure you show everything that gets him to believe he's the thing that he wants you to be. And then you can control him. I don't think as a woman, you as a woman, or even me as a man, thinking that mechanism doesn't play out. It absolutely does.
Of course it does.
And also, I'm speaking from another perspective here, which is I think that human nature and psychology being my main practice made me realize that whenever I talk about these ideas, I'm speaking about much larger things that are revealing of our nature. And sometimes that's a hard thing to come close to. Because
absolutely.
if you want intimacy, which is what I really am looking for in my life, well, you're going to have them look at that, and you might not be as familiar with it as you think, and somehow they're going to take care of it. That doesn't challenge you? Doesn't that challenge you?
A lot of things challenge me, but for me, it's always just energy. Like, who do I energetically always feel the most aligned with? I start with that, and then I go from the other tiers.
Well, that's very intuitive.
Whereas other people are kind of like, I need to be aligned in this, 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 this. I'm like, well, that's also very important. But for me, energetically, I always have to be very aligned.
I think that's very powerful. So all I was communicating earlier in relationship to your heart and your emotions is that's what's really making your choices.
Always.
Because intuitively, if we disagree on every idea on planet Earth, but there's a deep draw between us.
Correct.
That will make the choice.
Yes, for me personally, yeah.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
So, because then I think that's, by the way, isn't that more reflective of how people come together?
Yeah.
mean, so this is what I've been working on recently.
Because everything else, I believe,
Mhm.
can always be like everything else is fixable. Like everything else is easy. Energy doesn't lie.
It doesn't, but people do.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like if you have that, whether it's in love or business or friendship, like when you have that, everything else is like easy.
I mean, yeah, you would call it chemistry, right?
Yeah.
And it's an unknown factor to somebody. Why am I drawn to that person?
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about that. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, what makes the wrong person and the right person, I think, is relative to the work that a person has done in their body.
Yeah. Yeah.
I promise.
But I also
this.
don't believe in wrong or right or good or bad.
Fuck it. Let's get deeper. Let's get deeper.
I don't really believe in that because I feel like everyone's trying.
Yes.
Everyone is
no.
here on Earth to evolve their soul, and something could be not right for you, but don't conflate the two. You're still supposed to be with that person right there, right then, for whatever your soul needs the most. That's why I don't look at anything like even a relationship I got out of 7 months ago that was incredibly draining, incredibly unhealthy, on and off for about over a year and a half.
A lot of chemistry.
Yes, but
was he younger?
Was he younger?
Yeah.
No, he was not younger. He was like a few years older, but it just was not aligned. But there was so much love and so many other things, but
so much love?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds very intimate. That's what it feels like when you're describing this relationship.
Yes. However, having the discernment, right, of understanding what is aligned for you is really imperative. And at the end of the day, just because that didn't work out doesn't mean it wasn't meant to happen. Like I still decide to see the good in it.
Yeah, again, I think there's a certain point. I love that as a mindset that allows you to experience the darkest emotions.
Yes.
That's the point of that mindset.
Yes.
Is that you're aimed towards the highest possible good through the worst of experiences. But it does not mean that you don't experience the worst of experiences.
Without a doubt.
And I feel that that's usually where, when I talk about the disembodied consciousness, it usually speaks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And their intimate relationships are more revealing of the chaos they have a hunger for. I'm talking a deep hunger for. And because your ideas are straight, you're articulate, you're sharp as a knife, and that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then, but when it comes to intimate relationships, where does that go?
It goes to beautiful places. It really does. I've had amazing relationships, and they were exactly designed for what I needed at that time.
But again,
I really believe that.
Listen to what you're saying. They're designed for what I needed at that time.
Yes.
The whole relationship you're describing is already protective because there's no loss in it. It's always a forever gain, an existential gain. That's part of living as a human. Potentially, you've made mistakes. And not only you've made mistakes, that you've experienced the loss of these relationships, and you live with that.
But everything's designed for my higher good. Everything's designed for...
Let's not skip to higher good, right?
Okay.
Let's go right to the present experience and what that brings you closer to. Because higher good's probably deeper good.
Always for my high self.
So what I'm saying, I want to go back to what I said earlier, which is I don't see my relationships as that until I get a really, really deep perspective of like, okay, this was here to bring me closer to that. Actually, in fact,
when if you were to ask me what I felt like during it or when I was in it, probably would have had a different answer. But knowing what I know and knowing the spiritual laws that I do know, it always allows me to see things through a different lens.
I think you passed all the tests, and I got to pass the spiritual test.
I really choose to live my life like that because even though I don't understand something,
I've done this shit before.
Even when I'm going through something, even when I don't understand it, and I'm like, God, why am I in this? Why would you put me through this? Oh, wait, let me correct myself. Why is this happening for me? How am I going to use this to elevate? If everyone thought like that, I think they would move through life differently.
No, they would bypass their negative experiences if they thought like that.
But you can't bypass, otherwise it'll happen again.
And it does.
Correct.
Has that changed?
I don't want to ever bypass. That's not my agenda.
Well, then, I mean,
I sit through it. I work through it. Whatever situation at hand that wasn't quote unquote pleasant. Okay, this happened. Why? What did I learn? What did I gain? How can I be better? Mm-hmm. How can I move through things differently? How can I change my reactivity? How can I always evolve?
Well, you can't change it. You could integrate it. And forgive me for doing this at the moment because this is just not lighting.
Of course you can change it. You can always choose to be the best version of yourself.
When I speak about these vulnerabilities, I have to say that I'm actually on a path to open my heart. I'm looking for real marriage.
Yeah.
Real union. I'm not looking for the disconnected state of modern relationships and what that has to offer, which is two people keeping up a performance that they're happy when they're secretly miserable.
100%.
And they have to compromise all the parts of themselves that allow them to be who they are in the name of love. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Not interesting.
So yeah, no, real marriage though. But like, this has been the most challenging part of my life because I'm actually opening up my heart. And to think that opening up my heart isn't opening up to a tremendous amount of loss and sadness and to the experience of that. And what's done me a disservice, I'll be honest with you, is my intellectualization. Every damn time.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. But isn't that
Every
like
damn
the
time.
beauty of life? Like, that's when women are like, I mean, I almost died during childbirth. People are like, would you do it again? I'm like, hell yeah, I would do it again. It's so beautiful.
Tell me about that connection you have towards children, because you're very feminine, and you're like, I think you're very elaborate, like very clever, very dynamic. And it's like, you know, I guess you could say that, you know, being seen, where does that fit for you? You know, do you want to be seen?
Are we talking about children or being seen?
Because they're both connected. I think that's a very real expression. I think you're very connected to that. You're like, fuck yeah, I'd do that again.
I mean, because that's the beauty of life, right? Like, we experience heartbreak, but we do it again. We experience almost dying during childbirth, and we do it again because there's so much beauty in it, and there's so much
you're
power.
connected. That's the feminine essence right there.
Yeah.
But also to say that you wouldn't be willing to die for the man that you're with is absurd, because you're literally doing that for his children.
Yeah. I mean, when I was married and when I am married again,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I really like, love is so important to me.
No, I think that's beautiful.
And I love like the depth that comes with it, even though I've experienced significant heartbreak.
What about the sacrifice that comes with that?
What about it?
Well,
There's
yeah,
sacrifices with everything that's, you know, empowering
about-
and strength and deep, and
Mhm.
there's always sacrifices. But does it really have to be, this again comes back to consciousness, right? Like, is it a sacrifice, or is it something that is going to be really beautiful in the end? Like, why do we have to sacrifice? Like,
Okay, go 1 second. Like, I mean, the whole biblical stories are about sacrifice,
Okay.
because that's reflective of life, and life is reflective of loss, constant amount of loss. Every step you take forward for yourself, you experience loss. Truly, if it's for you, then it's a sacrifice towards what's most meaningful. The Abrahamic stories bring it up really well. Abraham's story, you know, like the covenant he made was one with God. It's one where he looked up at the stars. He showed him his potential. You'll be as numerous as the stars.
Mhm.
That's his commitment, and it's an
Mhm.
intimate commitment. It's
Mhm.
embodied through circumcision.
Mhm.
And God didn't say pierce your ear. He said cut off your foreskin. I don't
Mhm.
want anything separating you from this bond.
Yeah, so cool.
And that's going to be the way that you penetrate life.
Yeah.
And it utilizes the sex organ as a way to communicate an intimate relationship.
Mhm.
And I'm part of that. That's really rich. But
Mhm.
okay, we're talking about a relationship here.
Mhm.
And
What do you believe a sacrifice is in a relationship? Like, what are you sacrificing? Like, what is this massive sacrifice?
yeah, I think it's coming closer to the potential of yourself, recognizing that there's a tremendous amount of vulnerability and dependency.
So
that you
perhaps
have
we
in
shouldn't
people
use the
around
word
you.
sacrifice.
I think sacrifice perfectly depicts somebody who's willing to give up something towards what best serves them.
Interesting. I wouldn't use the word sacrifice.
What would you use?
I don't know. I wouldn't use sacrifice. I don't
Well, I
see
think
it as a sacrifice. I
you
see
wouldn't
it
use
as
a lot of other words, but like I said,
I
I
see
like
it as
to
a
use.
blessing.
Remove the blessing. What I'm saying is if there is no inadequacies or insecurities
Yeah.
in the current state of your choices
Yeah.
choices are not real.
Okay.
There's a difficulty to experiencing. There is no hero. There might not be any afterlife. There may not even be something that comes from the sacrifice. I might not get a commitment. Why would I walk this ghost town of loss and loneliness? There's on the board. How many
Because you
people
get to
walk through?
experience such beauty of it too.
Well, let's not even get there. I'll tell you my real experience with it. I fucking hate it. I do not like it. I have to go
'Cause you
tell
have
my
to be
father.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's
challenging.
so tough.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
I
it
was,
funny how we tell on ourselves too? Like
Mhm.
I always tell on myself on podcasts. I'm like, if you listen to me, like you'll know my fears, my insecurities. Like we tell on ourselves a lot, right? And I think that's what makes you so authentic. And I think that's what makes me authentic. Like I love that you just keep it real. You're like, no, that's really challenging for me. And I think that's really cool because once you break through that, it's like
I
it's the
couldn't do that a
best.
year ago. I liked playing into Superman because people believed that I was that. You know,
Yeah.
it had a big hit on my business.
Yeah.
When I start speaking now, I don't really speak to any particular problems.
Yeah.
Nothing specific to a person's projection.
Yeah.
I'm also more myself. I'm
Yeah.
more misunderstood. And I've experienced a tremendous amount of loss through that. Last year, my women group were huge
Yeah.
because I was Superman.
Yeah.
That year, right before my birthday,
Well, we can never idolize. You also know like how I feel about
Yeah, but guess what? People are looking for an idol to serve. They don't want freedom.
Correct. But we have to always be very conscious, especially like, in our studies and everything. Like we don't idolize and we don't put anyone in any sort of idolatry. Like we don't do that. In
idolatry. Yes, idolatry. That's one of the biblical commandments.
Correct. By the way, I always tell women like, don't do that to me. I'm here to serve a mirror.
Well, you already know what they're doing with their own concept that they made you.
Correct. And I make it very clear. I'm like, do not do that with me. I'm no better. I'm no smarter. I'm here to just serve as a mirror. Because that's what I expect of my mentors.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Like I'm not here to be idolized. I'm not here to be glorified. I'm not here to make you feel smaller than me. I'm just here to do this.
Yeah, and I also think
I think that's our roles too,
Absolutely. The mirror is the hardest thing to look at, especially in the face of typically men. I'll have a lot of women join me because they know that I'm a guy and potentially they could play that, right? But that's exactly the point. They just kind of reveal all of their unconscious mechanisms. Correct. And I go, well, here you are. Are you sure you want to be here anymore?
Yeah.
Some women, no, they don't. And I think even for the men that I work with, I have to really get them anchored to a commitment that's not a deal with the devil because they're looking for one. And if they're looking for one, let's talk about somebody who's a slave to their ideas and to this concept that they make of themselves and that they're willing to do anything for that thing and they came up with it and they trust themselves that much.
Sure.
Like, that's a little concerning.
I know, right?
Yeah, but intimate relationships, like I'm recognizing a little bit about what connection with yourself looks like. And this is what I wanted to talk about here, which is there's a void that every person experiences and a deep hunger for connection that comes with that. And look, I'll be honest with you that like when I talk about an embodiment of these things, it was much easier for me to speak around the concept. If I'm currently bleeding when I speak, that's a different message.
Yeah, because energy also doesn't lie.
You would have to be really intuitive to do that, but remember, if we're speaking to the masses, I'm not going to bet on it.
They're not, yeah.
I'm not going to bet on that.
And most people who are really talented at speaking, they're typically, not always, I don't like to generalize. I'm very cautious to not generalize.
Narcissistic?
They're not practicing what they preach, but they're really good at teaching it because they're going through it themselves.
I just had to learn how to start showing up for that, and it was really, really tough because I had to dissolute a lot of this identity. And then, so now let's get into like
it's
the
like when people
dynamics.
ask me, they're like, "You're a motivational speaker." They're like, "What's the trauma behind it?" I'm like, "Ooh."
Oh,
I'm like,
ooh. I like that, but I don't know why you're asking that question.
Because they're like, well, motivational speakers, like you had to go through significant things to understand how to speak to people, how to empower people. And I always, when people, it's very rare that someone says that to me. When they do, I look at them and I'm like, you're good. You're good. Like that's not typical. That people are like, wow, that's so cool. That's so interesting. Like, why? How? Not like, so what have you been through?
I really don't trust a lot of coaches and motivational speakers. I see right through the shit like nothing else. They're just con artists, snake oil salesmen that can get people to believe something.
But there's also good ones too.
Look, and they're very few, and they walk a particular road. And if you walk that road, you don't wear the badge anymore.
For sure.
Like it's not a prestigious symbol. It's an embodiment of who you are, and that comes with a whole list of other struggles.
A whole list of other struggles. Of the fear of not being, perfect enough or saying the right things all the time. But I think the people who are really powerful in anything that they do, I know so many women and men. I'm like, I would never agree with you, but they're so authentic to themselves. I'm like, that's so impressive to me. I meet people all the time in my space. I'm like, I would never think like you, but because you're just like, this is me and this is how I feel. I'm like, that's really empowering to everyone.
Oh, I want to turn it up a little bit because you're really, really good at not sharing your experiences.
Not true. I do on social.
Okay, well, wonderful. We're here right now. Then if you do it before, then
if you like looking me up on articles, I quite often say like the truth about
but why?
Or podcasts, whatever, because I don't have anything to hide.
Well, that's not true.
Why? Says who?
Because
Says
I
you?
feel like that's actually what makes it valuable.
No, I have nothing to hide because for me, it's like
then it's not courageous. What's up, everyone? I hope you're enjoying the video. This is going to be for individuals that are seriously looking to work with me. I don't extend that to everyone because it's truly not for everyone. If this content is really challenging you in the way that you feel is best, that is bringing you closer to yourself, then take it in with my community or even in my private work with my clients. If this is you, you can go ahead and click the link below and my team will go ahead and reach out, and I'd love to see you on the other side.
If I'm going to sit here and tell women to be authentic and to expose the deepest parts of themselves to themselves, and to then in turn help other women alchemize, who am I to sit here from a pedestal, right? Like some people do, they're like, you look like you've never broken a nail. Like, what do you know? And I'm like, actually, get to know me. And then they do. Like for me, it's very important to
Well, I think
be
that's
felt.
actually, by the way, I think that's a very interesting observation. Like, you look like you've never broken a nail. And the best thing you have to tell them is get to know me. Like, I don't.
If initially, I'm speaking initially.
Yeah, of course.
People who follow me, they
get
hear
to
me
know
speak,
you,
they
or at least,
know better, you know?
Well, I got to know you pretty quickly because my conversation with you was not typical.
Correct.
Not typical at all, but you're not typical.
But you're not, yeah, like you
You're not
always
typical.
crave like deeper questions.
I'm
and deeper
desperate for
answers.
a deeper connection.
Correct.
Desperate as fuck for a deeper
I
connection.
know.
And
Not everyone is.
Again, but imagine you felt shame for feeling lonely and desperate and yearning and all of the experiences that are probably most reflective of your current state of life that if you allowed yourself to experience would transform you. My understanding of alchemy is the transformation of what happens when a person shows up to experiences. It changes it. You know, you take reactivity, for example. That particular trait is something which you call, it's in your unconscious. That's why you're reactive.
Yeah, for sure.
And what happens if you take it and you bring it consciously? The embodiment of that now changes what it is. It's no longer in the dark. Maybe it's something even different. I mean, isn't that the process of like acceptance? You see it as it is, you bring it into the light, and then as you do, it transforms.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But I don't think transformation happens with what it can be. And I think that if we have a preconceived notion of what something can be, you remove yourself from the choice that you made and
give me an example.
The courage of that choice.
Give an example.
For example, I meet a girl. Things are going really well with that girl.
Yeah.
My understanding of vulnerability is that if I open up, I get this thing. I'm not talking about vulnerability anymore. This is still back end. I haven't made a commitment to a way of life, living in it with an embodied truth, which is really what vulnerability is.
Sure.
I'm not going to embody this lie of how other people perceive me, and I'm going to not hold that up. It's one of the things I spoke about in my women's group today, which was she was talking about how like what really hit with her is when I called her, oh, you're just a liar. You fucking fucked her up. You know, you call somebody a liar, it's like...
What did you feel she was lying about?
Everything. This whole boss girl with her heels clicking down, trying to tell people what to do, whatever it was.
Got it.
Was just what somebody does. And there's many ways to lie. You don't need to just tell people. That was one of the things she was able to recognize after she realized that this is actually true. And that actually that thing that she's putting out there is removing it from what she really needs. And so what you're really looking at is the embodiment of somebody who hates themselves. And they've never even bothered to ask themselves that question of what would love look like. Because perceivable self-love is very easy to mimic. It all has to look a certain way. You have to, be young, beautiful, charismatic, charming, potentially arrogant if you're a guy. And as a woman, kind of a bitch, right? Kind of walk that fine little edgy line.
Okay.
All of these things are not representative of people. And what really makes somebody strong and what is inspiring. And I mean, also, it's really easy to inspire people with quotes, especially when they have broken families. They're going to be far more prone to look up to whatever they think is strong.
I think all of this is very well spoken. However, I think that if someone is so confident and clear with who they are, nothing can shake that. I think that is the only thing that should be the goal at the end of the day. You need to feel so good.
Identity is shallow and you've just created a lot of conviction around
You got to get to that point. And that's why I believe we're here to help people find that deeper depth, right? So that they feel so good within themselves that when they go to sleep at night, they're like, the whole world could hate me, but I know who I am. That's my goal.
So now
the whole world could be like, this girl sucks. And I'd go to bed at night and be like, I actually really like who I am. That's really empowering.
That's
if you really feel that way.
Yeah, if it's real.
Jinx.
Is it such a...
If you really feel
because you know, there's like a fine line.
But only you know.
But only you know. And isn't that what brings somebody closer to their life? Correct. That they have to start recognizing that they're walking this alone.
When my girlfriends even ask me for advice, and they're like, turn off like Liz work hat. I'm like, always like, we're just sitting on the couch. Like, that's always like the thing they say. They think like it's like my work hat. I'm like, no, this is how I really feel. They'll be like, well, I just, and they'll just go off. Like last night, one of my best friends was like, well, I just, I need to figure out if I'm going to live in Miami or LA. And I need you to tell me, like, do you really think you see myself here or there? And I was like, I could give you advice all day long. Me, him, her. Only you really know. I'm here to listen. I'm here to tell you. Because if I start telling you where I think you should be, I'm projecting. If I start giving you advice, yes and no. Because the agenda should always be to get people to feel themselves so deeply that it's only them and source
You're
that they're
absolutely
listening
correct.
to.
If you can get somebody connected to their emotions,
Yes.
then they would be making choices that they stand by.
Yes.
Which means that their decisions would be something that they over time create a deeper
And
connection
this is
with.
why it's important to not
Yeah.
constantly ask other people what their thoughts and opinions and everything is. Yourself and source.
Well, I mean, that's all I'm saying. If you speak for yourself, you'll save any relationship you're in. And you could start with yours.
And that's why it's important to spend time by yourself.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to change the gears here because I wanted to go back more to the intimate relationship side of things, which is around particular dysfunctions. And like when I'm talking about vulnerability, I'm not saying this as in it's like, I used to have this ability to where I could speak about my life without feeling the things that I really spoke about. Because
what do you mean?
There was a level of disconnect from what I would talk about.
Okay.
And I'm only saying that because I think it's just actually most real. Like,
well, we also try to forget our traumas too, right? I spoke about this on a conference yesterday. I was like,
Yeah.
when we deal with things and we move past it, it's almost like giving birth. Like you're like, oh, wow, that was crazy. Like I don't want to revisit
compresses.
it.
A trauma compresses.
Yeah.
But when you hit it again, it's like a bomb in your face.
Correct. But you choose to only speak about the positive. And sometimes it's hard. Like I know for some people, it's hard to revisit that pain.
Well, that's one thing. I like to stay away from the whole positive self-talk. Your thoughts are you build your reality. All of these things are playing into such dehumanized way of operation that they're
disagree.
Good. They're good ideas at best. At best, they're decent
Why
ideas.
can't you experience the darkness while also seeing the good in it?
Because it's not darkness if you constantly have a way to cope yourself out of it by thinking it's good at the end. No, what if it's perceivable void and a never-ending
What if it's
one?
for the highest version of your soul? What if all these things are designed to get you to the place?
Yeah, but you have to be able to feel that.
Self.
But how the hell would you be able to feel that if you didn't go through that?
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying? But that doesn't to say that the
Correct.
next experience isn't going to have, maybe you have a little more faith throughout it, and then you could have grace.
Sure.
But to say that it's any different would just be removing you from the experience of your life. Like I said, I don't think that...
These tools are really just to help you move through life. It's not to say to bypass or to ignore. It's just tools. It's tools to help you move through life in a way where you understand that there's meaning behind it.
But I think that those tools, spoken to... I even feel that women in particular... You just create really advanced forms of coping. Really advanced forms of coping. And just, by the way, religious fanaticism exists for that very reason.
Sure.
And
to find like an excuse or a reason. And,
of course.
Yeah.
And if I can go ahead and find my structure about how I give myself permission and how I punish myself, I haven't evolved as a person at all because that just described to you a juvenile consciousness.
Correct. And then you actually are kind of nervous to quote unquote make a mistake, but it's not really a mistake. Like I don't believe there's any such thing as mistakes. I think that you should obviously have the knowing, right? But if you don't know, you are going to quote unquote fall. But if you learn from it, it's like, what's that statement or that quote? It's like, you make a mistake once, it's a mistake. You make a mistake twice. It's like the third time, it's like it becomes your character. It's also a differentiation.
Yeah, there's a certain point where you make enough choices unconsciously.
Correct.
You eventually can't resort to I didn't know.
Yeah, because there is a lot of spiritual bypassing, right? And I also try to be conscious of that. Like,
maybe you're really good at it.
No, I'm not.
I
really believe
that's
that.
A compliment. I'm saying it's powerful. It's very powerful.
I wouldn't say that because I'm really good at recognizing my pain points and truly trying to transform them. I don't make excuses. Spiritual bypassing, by the way, is when you do something, you're like, well, it was meant to be. I don't know.
Yeah. It was like, my soul union has come to an end. I got that before. She was wearing the same damn perfume, by the way.
My soul wanted me to make these mistakes. And spiritual bypassing is very different. And a lot of people who do that quite often, it's lack of accountability and lack of integrity.
It's partial.
I'm not talking about
like
that.
I'm saying, it's unintegrated narcissistic characteristics.
Yes. It comes down to balance.
I wanted to talk about reactivity. Okay, I'm not
which
separating
is my
myself.
tikkun.
Mine too.
Yeah.
It's a product of a few characteristics. It means that you have a very high sensitivity.
Sure.
And with that high sensitivity, most people think of sensitivity as, I just feel a lot. No, it means you're monstrously capable. So congratulations. Welcome to the dark triad of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, which is it's the utmost form of manipulation. Okay? If you're sensitive, you have all of those characteristics, whether you like them or not. Not everybody has that kind of level of... Absolutely. Well, because your reactivity will probably manifest itself in viciousness. And if it's not in viciousness, it'll be very, very protective. And so you're going to have to kind of resort to your identities. Yeah, like that
crab shell. Yeah.
Well, not just the crab shell. That's another compound. But that's like an extra times 2 multiplier. Right? We're talking about at its core.
Right.
And ultimately, you're going to start seeking your own self-preservance, which is part of psychopathy, which is interest for yourself exclusively, which is not a negative thing.
Unless you do the inner work.
Okay.
Which should be everyone's goal all the time. How do I correct this in a way that I can transform, alchemize? How do I utilize this? How do I make it? How do I shift it so I'm always looking to elevate?
Well, I'll share something because we share this too. I think reactivity. I don't think that there was a point in my life to where I could experience sadness in an argument with somebody I love.
Why?
Because why would I have to?
Why would you not?
Well, they're making me feel a way I don't like to feel.
So you would react verbally, or you would react like you would leave?
Oh, I could do both.
Yeah.
Both of them are really, really psychotic. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
That I'm not saying that this is, when we talk about a tikkun, we're talking about a path. And if it's your path, you haven't walked it.
Well,
you're going to walk it.
Yeah, tikkun is your life correction. For those who don't know, I think it's important that
of
we
course,
explain
yeah,
what
well,
a tikkun is.
Not
everyone knows.
We're talking about your path,
Yeah.
where you need to walk. And I was speaking to you about this in the car. Is that like, to think that I didn't start this because I was aware of my alternatives, I am not that brave. Like, sure, I guess I became more brave, but I'm really aware of the alternatives of what will happen in my intimate relationships if I don't begin to integrate this.
Sure.
And an integration of anything is the acceptance of it in its worst possible implication, or else you can't. Like, I can't integrate my inner child if he feels loss and sadness.
Without
Unless I accept, I'll be depressed with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I fear. That's something I fear deeply.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of loss, maybe I don't have the ability to experience. Maybe I'll crash under its weight. Maybe I'll be the coach that's depressed.
Yeah, but it all comes down to words, right? Because words are spells. That's why it's called spelling.
Actually, I think it comes down to resonance. I think
abracadabra. Where does abracadabra come from? You know this stuff.
I know these things, but I also know your ideas. I understand the classical, conventional understanding of coaching. Is it classical, conventional way of coaching? It's so far removed from reality.
Or is there magic to it?
There is magic to words.
Or is there magic to it?
But an affirmation removed from any belief is ridiculous, and a belief isn't something you create just through your thoughts.
But what if you say it enough until you believe it? This is what I teach women.
No, you can't say something enough to believe it. You could embody something and you'll believe it because you're not a proclamation anymore.
Well, it's so funny because people my whole life have called me Delulu, and Delulu has gotten me everything I've ever wanted.
Well, you are kind of crazy. That's wonderful. I think that your intuition is wonderful.
What
What
if we see things from a lens of magic versus a lens of is BS? What if it's not?
Let's play here.
Okay.
Let's play here. We're talking about intimate relationships.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in speaking to an audience about ideas that can make them believe something for a little bit that they can go on and go fuck their life with.
Depends on your consciousness.
No, not actually. You can actually elevate people's consciousness by embodying the highest level of it, and then eventually they'll be challenged by it. They'll be challenged by it.
Fair enough.
Meaning that they cannot go to sleep and escape a real conversation.
Fair enough.
Because it woke them up.
Correct.
And they're like, oh, fuck me. I'm pale. Why am I pale?
I agree with this.
Fuck those people. And that's great.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that when I'm talking about the nature of intimate relationships, because I believe that that's going to be the basis of the impact that every individual can change. If I told you right now, I'm going to get up and drop the mantle of public speaking and Instagram, and I'm going to embody this in my life, this vulnerability, the way for myself to exist as I am and to get closer with it.
Sure.
It's inevitable the change I want to make in the world. That's not true for most people. They don't know what change really looks like. They're removed from goodness. Goodness isn't this grandiose messianic vision, possibly because you have manic depression.
Sure.
But that's probably more likely. More people have that.
But isn't that why they look to us to help guide them through that?
I think they're looking for something deeper in themselves that they want to get closer to.
But that's why it comes down to we're just mirrors to help them find that.
Well,
we're not
really.
God.
Again,
we're not, I'm not
we
really
act
a mirror.
As mirrors. I think that the mirror thing is kind of narcissistic. I'm only saying that because, like you say you meet a partner and he's just a mirror. Like, a reflection is very different than a mirror. And I think it's an important nuance. Because, like,
that's
a
very
mirror
well said.
is just me.
That's very well said.
No, but a reflection is another person that I'm born of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so I think that.
But when I say holding up a mirror, it's for them looking at them.
It's a coaching practice.
I don't even see it as a coaching practice. I see it as a life practice. When I look at myself in the mirror every morning, I'm dealing with me.
Maybe
it's me on me.
Yeah.
This is it.
There's not somebody else there when you look.
No.
I don't know what morning.
I'm looking at myself. Yeah. I'm dealing with myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do I like who I am? Do I like how I speak? Do I like how I move through life?
Right.
Okay.
Why? Because I think that's a very beautiful part of you. By the way, I want to give you an understanding. So it's actually
what makes me reactive. Is that what you're asking? What makes me reactive?
I think this is where the vulnerability.
I'll tell you exactly what's made me reactive. I can take myself to it. I could literally I have this way of closing my eyes. I can walk myself through an exact situation that I have done this many times before to see how I can better myself. I'll close my eyes. and I'll take myself through a situation that was very traumatic for me, and I'll feel it, and I'll feel what I would have been like had I acted like the highest version of myself versus a reactive version of myself.
I think you honestly, you sound just like my mom. It's the worst thing I could ever say, but the best thing I could ever say at the same time.
Well, your mom's Jewish.
Yeah, Moroccan,
so here
Jewish,
we are.
very intelligent, decided to marry one of the most dominant men on planet Earth, and didn't think that that's going to come with having to integrate that part of her, because beforehand it worked. Now, I don't know. You could ask her. But this is why I think intimate relationships are really revealing of the person's continuity of what they believe.
Yeah.
Because, like, girl I loved was covered in tattoos. I wouldn't bring her home for a Shabbat in a million light years.
Be careful with what you say, because you know what God does when you say, I would never.
I'm speaking about something that clearly happened. Fell in love with her.
Oh, okay. It did
head
happen.
to toe.
Okay.
There was
she Jewish?
No, she wasn't Jewish.
Okay, cool.
But also, this was something
interesting. But you fell in love.
I'll let you understand a little bit about the integration of the darkness component here.
Okay.
Is really important, because then you immediately incorporate an opposition that dissolutes every preconceived notion of who you are.
Sure.
And you will feel lost. If you don't feel lost, hopeless, despair, doubt, you're not on the right path. You're not on the right path. You know, most people don't allow themselves to experience that, because, like, their definition of lost is, I don't like what I'm facing. I'm lost. It's like, no, you're not lost. You're just in the water, and there's a brick tied to your ankle. I'm lost. No, you just don't like the situation you're in.
Yeah.
And so I'm speaking about my mother, because she's really, my whole life I was compared to her by my brothers. You know, they were always like, you're reactive. You're very emotional. You're very sensitive.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck this. Whatever this is, it sounds like suck.
Yeah.
Right? And so why not? Let's adopt James Bond as a personality.
Sure.
Right? That'll be a lot better. And I think I kind of leaned a lot more closer to my mother. I always had a really tough relationship with her. It was not very easy. And my mother was speaking a lot about her life. And I think that I liked what you said in the car. I found that to be really powerful. It's like, I did not like who I was when I was not a spiritual person.
Yes, for sure.
I think that's really beautiful. But I also think that's very revealing of what that part of you looks like without an aim, without an ideal. I would say that dark nature without its ability to be integrated is the source of all destruction. If there's an ideal in relationship to it, it's the birthing of all of your love. It's the beginning of all life. It's the bedding of all existence.
Give an example. I like specific. I think people.
Well, yeah,
really
I'm going to get more into
examples.
the specifics for it, right? Which is, you know, like when we talk a lot about darkness, a lot of the time we recognize a lot of what we are driven by, and even sometimes we'll protect ourselves from that by saying that we're selfish, even to ourselves. When really our desires are the one things that bound us to our life and bring us closer to what we want most.
Yeah.
Give me a second, because I have these like heartburn things whenever I talk about anything real. It's fucking weird. Ask him.
He's like, oh my God, these emotions, they're really real.
Yes,
Heartburn.
it comes up from the heart. It comes up from the heart. Like I said, I have to experience the embodiment
Cancers are
of
so
it.
interesting. It's so
Sensitive
funny.
people are interesting. We're not just all cancers. Technically, I'm on the cusp, so I get an out if I want to say
slide
Leo.
out.
Yeah. And do you know, because I grew up with a very, very religious mother. And
she was super
all the
religious.
girls I was into, they didn't cover their hair or wear maxi skirts.
Yeah, you were trying to like a pose. Yeah.
Full-blown whores.
Oh, Naftali.
1 second.
Naftali.
God bless them for it, because that's a part of female nature. They were very sexual, and I was drawn to that.
I hate that word.
I know you hate that word.
I think it's so derogatory.
But it's the best thing you could ever call your partner when they're being most free. You see what I'm saying?
You are not posting this.
Yeah, you bet your ass I am.
Oh my
because
God.
It's important. It's like, I want to be your dirty slut. Like, if you didn't feel that way, then he's not the guy for you.
Naftali.
It's like, what do you want? This is our union between God. And he's like, I'm the tantric masculine essence. And you're like, I'm the feminine goddess. Like, ew. Like, why not be fucking pigs? That's real.
What are we going to do with this guy?
I mean, there, you see this? It's fucking, she can't sit in her chair. Because we're home, baby. We're home. I'm talking about dark,
oh my gosh.
sexual nature.
Who's to say that's not, by the way, that's not a negative thing.
No.
But this is, I mean, sexuality, there's so many nuances to this. Like, where do you start?
Well, then let's get to it, right?
Like, where
That's
do
the
you
whole point
start
of a
with
conversation.
this? I think
I'm saying that
I would never want my significant other or a man to use that verbiage with me ever, because I think there's a time and a place for everything. I believe that. Like, I believe that
dirty?
women can
Would you
be.
rather that one?
I believe women can be very sexual, very playful, all these things. I think there's a time and a place, right? And I think all women, once they understand that and they're comfortable with it, I think that's cool.
Well, for example, let's just take something intimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very easy way to miscategorize what I'm saying as a way to degrade.
Yeah.
Or to utilize this as a power
Well,
thing.
if you chat GPT'd what the actual definition of the word
yeah, but it seems to be all things men really like too, especially because there's a particular kind of expression there. I mean, Freud wouldn't have came up with a Madonna whore complex if he wasn't aware of the way the male brain works and also how women are, right?
Sure.
So what I'm saying, I grew up hair covering, mother of 5, right?
Yeah.
Technically, there's 7 brothers.
Yeah. There's something your dad was attracted to, maybe under that hair covering. You know?
Don't get it. My mom, before she became religious, was the woman I love.
Ah.
And every time I saw her, I couldn't receive that.
Yeah.
Now when I go out in the world, women make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm not dealing with a disembodied woman.
Yeah.
That it became foreign to me why I was so drawn to dark nature.
But what
because
if
I have it in myself.
But what if a woman was all those things? What if she was religious?
A woman can never be anything or all things unless she integrates the parts of herself that exist in fragments.
Sure.
So wait, I'll tell you what happened. So my mother was...
That was very well said, by the way.
Of course, you can't. And so, I mean, I felt I was fragmented and split, and I always had this yearning for connection, and nothing really satisfied me, and I felt like something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And it persisting out.
Yeah.
And there was a certain point where, as I got older, I was able to recognize, like, oh my God, I'm rejecting this part of myself, this dark part of myself. Well, it was all of the things that I couldn't.
But what if it's not dark? What if it's inherently human, but it's deemed dark with religion or something?
It's dark. And I think that it's a really good way to categorize things with the level of preciseness I categorize them with, because you could only integrate it if you understood how powerful it is. Your reactivity could burn a marriage or save one. 100%. And in its 100%. Juvenile state, you will only know destruction with it, because
100%.
Everything will be a misunderstanding. Because you know who you're going to pair with? Guys like me. Sorry. And if you're reactive...
It's funny, I actually haven't.
Well...
I always end up with a guy that's like super soft and super sweet and...
Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
Because I know how to call things in.
Well, where are they? We're sitting here. Like, there's something you're drawn to.
I think that there is a power to a strong and soft man, and
I think you're miscategorizing gentle.
I think you're wrong.
Gentleness is very different than what you're describing here. I'm an incredibly gentle person.
Oh, I didn't know we were making this about you, Naftali.
No. We're not going to do that either.
Oh, we're making this about you?
Because that's not what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's actually what I mentioned earlier, and then you changed the conversation. But I was talking to you about a reactivity that I think is
I love how he goes, so where are they? I'm like, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, where are they? Great question.
They're there.
They're there, yeah. Like, you got 6 of them.
They're there.
You could chew through them like man sandwiches. When you're done, you're full. Get to the next one. Maybe he'll be a little bit better. You're good. You're advanced. You're fucking. You're next level.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, where I'm at is I want next level.
That's all I'm saying.
For sure.
And I think that it's hard. Sure. I think personally, it was very hard for me to bring people close when I realized what I do to people closest to me.
Which is?
Destroy them.
How so?
I have the conversations with people in my life because I protect them from me. And it's not just, if I can't protect them from me, then how the hell could I protect them from anything else?
Sure.
I think that's a responsibility of being a man, especially with a woman, which is you better know your dark nature, or else she'll never have any room to either integrate hers, discover hers, or your children will always run from it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And look, I grew up in the family where my parents were immediately in the ultra-religious world.
Yeah.
The whole understanding, if you said the word dark to my mom, she'd be like, what do you mean? I don't agree.
Yeah.
You have to control it. Get rid of it. I'm like, I'm
not suggesting to control it or get rid of it.
So what do you suggest?
I'm saying to understand it, sit in it, feel it, and always, the agenda should always be how to transform to the highest level of your soul. I'm not saying anyone should be perfect. I'm not saying to not experience the darker parts of yourself or to understand who you are fully. Like, you should, and it's important.
I think that's
as long as you're doing it in a way that's not destructive to others.
What you're describing.
You can't do it in a way that's destructive to others.
You would have to be willing to accept it.
Well, that's what I did.
You would have to be willing to accept it. But you wouldn't say that's what I did. You'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt for doing that.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
maybe you'd begin to integrate it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the embodiment of this work is very, very different because it doesn't just create people that can speak about the ideas. It creates people that walk a particular path that inspires others through their very essence.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the point in time where when we turn on the TV, we wouldn't see somebody with 6 layers of Botox who's trying to maintain his 20s into his late 50s.
Mm-hmm. I love Botox.
It's probably great for your forehead. You know, it just relaxes
I love
it.
Botox.
You know, like there's a certain point where a person embodies themselves, and that's an inspiration to everybody. You know, like when I think about the actors of my father's generation, when he would raise me with those films, I saw people that wanted to be nothing but them, and they understood the value of that, and they brought that to the screen.
I think as important it is for that statement, I also think it's very imperative to understand that I always tell women, I'm like, listen, I have a mom who doesn't wear any makeup. She doesn't like high heels. She lives in the woods and she feels beautiful.
Who's your mother?
She's just like, that's like the way she lives her life and she loves it.
That's so interesting.
And I think that's so beautiful.
What about you?
I love those things too, but I also love the other things, makeup, hair, heels. I love those things too.
She's barefoot in the woods?
No, I don't think she's barefoot. I think she's wearing sneakers because she's still Ashkenazi and doesn't want like ticks and stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But for me, it's like whatever makes you feel like the most beautiful version of yourself, like stop looking to other things, like what makes you feel the most beautiful and authentic and stick with that. Because I have friends, I have colleagues, I have women I coach are like, I would never do any of that. I'm like, good. You know that. I would. That's what
I want to go back to being reactive.
You know,
I like that conversation there.
But you know what I mean?
I got a little bit of an experience of Liz right there. I got to experience just a little bit of it.
What makes me reactive?
Well, I'm speaking
lack
to
of
this.
integrity, lack of
integrity.
Yes, like lying, cheating, using people.
Okay, well, you're describing the dark nature there.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't confuse dark nature with bad actions. There's a big difference.
I'm just talking about my personal experience. Like I'm thinking of like what makes me you asked what makes me reactive, right? Like that's
what triggers a reaction?
Yeah.
Somebody lying to you.
Yes.
Okay, now that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
If being lied to by somebody you love is a vulnerability you have to accept. I could be lying to you right now. Everything that could be coming out of my mouth could be nothing but straight horseshit.
But I don't love you.
That's exactly the point. So you've made an agreement that anybody who you feel vulnerable with is someone you won't have around. Because you don't need to love me. I'm just saying that if we don't love each other and that door isn't open, what makes you think it'll be open for someone you love?
My point is reactivity. There's levels to it, right? And I don't have an issue being vulnerable. That's not my issue. It's never been my issue.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, then you wouldn't have reactivity.
I disagree.
You know, reactivity is...
You can be very vulnerable and very reactive.
No.
But I've really learned to hone in on that.
It's very difficult to be reactive and vulnerable simultaneously. Reactivity is a product of unavailability.
I disagree.
It's also the product of unintegrated sensitivity and the dark sides of sensitivity, which is you might pick up on certain things that might require you to say things that people won't quite understand, and they might misunderstand you. I have to stand by that. My intuition is really strong. The gap that I have between me and most people is really big. And when there's certain kinds of behaviors, I have to be willing to communicate it. And it usually looks a little like this. Hey, I don't think you're aware of what you're doing right now, but you're really not valuing any of this conversation, not you in particular, but just somebody, for example. And they might not know it until they go, oh, shit, right? That's somebody who's at least open to the conversation. But if not, then I'm every single one of their worst.
But you also need to be very conscious of not projecting and this is something that we all have to always, you know,
of course.
As coaches, as public speakers, I always try to speak of a place of not my personal experience and project that onto anyone else.
Well, yeah, you could only recognize your projections if you're aware of your personal experiences. It's like if you're not aware of your personal experiences around a situation, it's always the worst possible manifestation of the situations of your past. And it just, by the way, the one thing you didn't want to happen, you did to that person. You misunderstood them completely. And look, and the reason why I'm saying this is because like you have a tremendous gift. I know that's no shock. That's not foreign to you. You know that. And I know this as somebody who has been reactive, and to think that I still don't feel and experience certain things and have a particular response to it, even with the people I love closest, is ridiculous. Because every time I have to overcome any kind of reactivity, I have to understand my sensitivity, what I'm picking up on, the experience that I had in the past, be willing to share that because perceivably this situation isn't what I thought it was. And I'd have to, in a lot of ways, be willing to kill a part of myself. At least that's how my ego would perceive it.
Yeah. A lot of what we do is also being vulnerable about our experiences, which, by the way, 90% of the world struggles with just being vocal about the things that they've
You know how
gone
tough that
through.
is? It's really tough.
It's
And
not easy.
now imagine you don't have to be a person.
Mm-hmm.
And you could reinforce a persona.
Yeah.
And you can actually reinforce that persona through media. And then people can create an attachment to
People
that.
do all the time.
Yes. And then also you can get all the things that you want as long as you're in this particular class.
Correct.
Doesn't that sound really convenient? Dangerously convenient?
Yep.
And
But
that only separates
the
people from
crash
each other.
always happens.
Yeah, but
It's
some people,
inevitable.
they, of course, the crash is inevitable because all lies come crumbling when you incorporate any truth. And sometimes time is revealing of the truth because the lies don't do well under the light of that. And so
Facts. Well said.
I think it'd be fun if we got reactive for 5 minutes. It's the way
He
to end this
wants to
off.
trigger me so bad.
I just
It
'cause
only
it's-
is in like a romantic relationship.
Whoa! Well, then fucking get used to it because like you better get. I hope you know
Of
this. By the way, I'll
course,
be
but
honest with
this
you.
is human, you know.
It's human and powerful and
Yeah.
dangerous and destructive and beautiful. Now, just to let you know,
It's hard to trigger me.
there's
Otherwise.
no way to. There's a way you could remove a person's voice. You shut down and become reactive when they're trying to communicate something that you don't have a personal relationship with.
Sure.
And what happens is, once the reactivity begins, it's technically a protective flight or flight response. It's a way to control a situation of a perceivable terror,
Correct.
even a trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if you have no relationship with that particular trauma, especially in intimate relationships, you will never get closer to it. You will only know reactivity. So I
Correct.
think it's really important that you integrate it, especially if you're looking for an intimate relationship. Is that, look, it could work really well on paper. And I'm saying this because I've had that in my life.
Well, everyone in your life will at one point or another trigger you. It's how you choose to respond. It's
But
how you choose to respond.
You can't respond in unconscious areas because there's no consciousness there to respond.
Right. That is
Reactivity
why
is a
it's your
product
duty
of
to do that work.
unconsciousness of particular.
That's why it's imperative to do the work.
You have to.
Most people avoid the work. Our job is to show people how to do the work so that when we're not there,
Do you do the work?
every freaking day, every day.
I think the reactivity conversation is. I think it's important to know the consequences of it. Less more of my problems with reactivity, but more of what reactivity does.
Yeah,
Like-
it causes a lot of, can cause a lot of issues.
Serious heartbreak.
Yeah, what about it?
No, it can cause more than serious issues. It can cause serious heartbreak. You
Sure.
can seriously hurt a person.
A lot of damage can be done.
And it's sometimes irreparable damage because that damage could be repaired if there was maybe a reactivity, but an awareness of the reactivity and what
Correct.
that's around. So you can never maintain the current state of your relationship. You have to always improve it after that kind of conflict.
Correct. Sometimes people forget that once certain things are said, you can't go back.
Because they have two alternatives. They can protect themselves and pity you. Or they have to experience what it is to be misunderstood about something they didn't communicate. So
And
they
by
have
the
to.
way, sometimes people need to understand that being misunderstood, it's okay. Sometimes it's better to be misunderstood. It's okay. You don't have to prove yourself all the time. You don't
Not
have to
really.
prove yourself all the time. Sometimes it's okay to allow people to be misunderstood by you. I've learned this in my life. Let them, it's okay if someone misunderstands. Do you like who you are when you go to sleep at night in an authentic manner? Do you really trust
Again,
the person that you are?
I
If you do,
Mhm.
then it is okay to be misunderstood in hopes that they'll come to light, that they'll maybe one day understand. But if they don't, are you still okay with who you are?
I would hope
I'm going
so.
to add this to one of my talks because it's so important. If
What
you're, and
does that
only
have to
you
do
know
with
that
the-
answer.
What does
Only
that have
you
to do
know.
with the reactivity component? Reactivity is typically.
I don't know. We just had ADD and just jumped.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, we did. And I the reason why I like this conversation
Yeah.
is because I feel like that's where I'm called to with you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the door that has the most locks, and that's my game. That's my
because
favorite.
we both
game.
have struggled with it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've also experienced the consequences of it,
Same.
and then I removed myself from my own reactivity because I've experienced it developmentally. That's when I became weak with it, and that's when I became destructive.
Okay. I think I had the opposite effect. I think I worked on it. I know I worked on it so much that I knew when I was being tested to see if I was ready for the next level of my soul. And even when you know you're being tested, you still are like, you just want to go and revert back to your old ways. And even when you know you're being tested, it's so easy to still fall. It's so easy. It's so easy that I've been guilty of it. But then I was like, no, I'm being
Again.
tested and I want to move through this. in an elegant
but that's
way.
not the way you
I'm
move
ready.
through it.
It is.
The only way you can move through it is to become
if you've done the work. If you've done the work.
Yeah, but to define the work, I think for you, the work is emotions that refine or connect you to another identity. That's not what I'm saying. I think that the surrender component is to all the parts of yourself that are going to challenge that current identity, which is potentially you're not sweet, potentially you're narcissistic, potentially you're selfish, potentially you're extraordinarily manipulative. Now, if you knew that about you, that means you have claws. In intimate relationships, you better know the difference, because if you're reactive, that means you see red and there's blood. You have to know both. And I think that this is the other aspect of it that makes you safer in those experiences, because then you don't have to have somebody who has to beat you. Because I mean that. They don't need to beat you in that game, because there's a way to beat the reactive people. Well, it's something I've seen in my family growing up. I know how my dad deals with it. You keep it at a distance. You keep it at a distance. And then when it has something to say that's real, you diminish it. You dismiss it. And you further create a person's, you almost neglect the person in a way.
Yeah.
But then again, it's your marriage who's really suffering, right?
That part.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't think that these dysfunctions, I think that...
Versus just like avoiding, and it's like, no, go in it, go deep in it. Like it's so tough, but it's not impossible.
It's so particular. Like, I think that there's a beauty
impossible.
to the people you attract are in relationship to the unprocessed stuff you have. All of it. Generationally.
I would agree with that.
The men that you like are going to be the Babasali, spitball, fiery motherfuckers. And that's just part of what you love. You love it, whether you like it or not.
And
it doesn't mean that it's particularly bad. Death, chaos, destruction, you're going to love them. Part of the feminine, by the way. If you don't integrate it, that's all you'll bring. And if you don't, or if you aren't aware of it, you'll have an elaborate way of bringing it. And you will hurt people in ways that are unimaginable. And this is what I really speak to. The consciousness of responsibility of what it is to be human.
You're not projecting right now.
I'm not projecting.
Make sure you're not
I'm
projecting.
speaking to something that's universal.
Okay.
And it's something that I would have to, I consistently interact with myself. And the reason why I mention this is because it makes people feel safer in relationships. And if that's not the basis of a healthy home, I don't know what is. If two people are integrated with this, then they could help their children have that same space. And it's not a question of removing yourself from
I think it's about allowing people to experience life, to be themselves, while knowing that there's always work to do. Everyone will always have work to do. However,
I want to get past that there's always work to do.
There's always work to do.
Yeah, but it sounds like a Jewish mother assigning homework. Like, it sucks, right?
But it's the truth.
But it's not reflective of reality. It's not school. It's not college. You're not taking finals by the end of the month. This is life.
But why does it have to be perceived like school? Why can't it be perceived as like a beautiful thing? Like, why does it have to be deemed negative? Like, it's not school. It's not a lesson.
Well, I'll speak for anybody else. I know that's how they feel.
But what if we see the other side of it? What if we see it as a way to like, wow, how lucky am I? How blessed am I that I came into this life, into this body, into this skin with so many gifts and so many things I can also correct. How beautiful is it at the end of it? I can look back and be like, wow, what an experience. That's cool.
I like I said, on paper, A+, right? On paper, A+. I'm not, I'm just saying A+, like, because it's beautiful.
It sounds so beautiful, right?
It sounds beautiful, but it's not connected. It's not connected.
What if everything can be magical?
I know everything is magical. I'd much rather saying what if I know everything is magical. Okay. I live with that experience all the time.
Well, you just told me, like, what is this, school? What are you
no. Because what you're describing is that. I want to actually bring people closer to what's more interesting, which is the embodiment of these feelings and experiences. Yeah. Eventually, it's
giving Beauty and the Beast.
You think so?
It's giving Beauty and someone angry.
I don't know.
I'm like,
angry.
What if we chose to see, like, I've been through so much trauma. What if I sat in that forever? What if I sat in it forever?
You would transform it. What do you think? What do you think? You want to do Beauty and the Beast? Let's do Beauty
and the Beast. I don't want
to
sit in that
forever.
How
does she transform him? Does she love him? Or does she give him conditions and tell him, hey, you're an animal and you're quite disgusting and ugly?
She shows a lot of love.
Yeah, and that transformed him to what he really is? What's under that?
Correct.
What's under that hairy, furry animal?
A prince.
A prince, right? Because that's revealing of the truth. Love is revealing of what always has existed.
And how do I choose to leave?
How do I choose to lead? As a woman?
As me, with love.
Well, yeah, but that's. I mean, look, I'm only saying this not because I don't believe that you are connected to that. I'm saying that
that's how I choose to lead.
You have to recognize that love is not something that is easily conceivable, especially if your development doesn't reflect it. And not only if your development doesn't reflect it, even if it does, there are parts of you that are evolved, meaning that they
What if it's less about development? What if it's more about consciousness? What if everything that we've always been taught has to be like this and has to be logical and you have to do this to experience this and you have to live like that? But what if you come from nothing? And what if you have the consciousness that you believe that you can and deserve to have it all? What then? All the
Again,
laws go out the window.
Well, that's
how I choose to live my life.
That's at its core. And
Right.
like I said, it's to have it all. It's just a question of how it manifests, right?
Mhm.
I'm with you.
You can go the long, hard way of logic, or you can go through the short way of miracles, and you choose to see life like
but
that.
Like I'm saying,
it's a choice.
It took me a long time to be connected to the miracle of my life that constantly exists.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't just happen. There was so much of what I had to integrate. And what I mean by integrate, it means take that concept, deconstruct it, and apply it towards what serves me.
Mm.
But I have to embrace it. In fact, I'm not only embracing it, I'm immersing myself into it. But I also think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that, because I think it's not like you don't ever create that loving relationship with yourself until you recognize all of the resistance you have to that initial relationship.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well said.
Wonderful. Well, anyways,
You're like, thanks for finally giving me something.
No. I really enjoy speaking with you. I really do.
No, you like, so many of your thoughts are really powerful. Truly. Like,
yeah. I think
like, wow. Like, I'm just like, oh, that's like such an interesting way to expand on it. I think it's really cool.
And I would say that your essence, your embodiment, you without any of the ideas is probably one of the most powerful experiences. And I just, that's a hard thing to even believe. And
I wasn't like this 5 years ago.
I believe it.
I wasn't like this. I really chose to move through things differently, and it's created a lot of miracles for me. So I'm like,
Beautiful.
Call me Delulu. It's working.
Yeah, wow. The whole thing about reactivity really cracks me up, because it was like one last thing. Is I realized that my mother at this point in her life, speaking to her, just because she's really extraordinary.
Yeah,
she was really manic depressive for years of her life, and she fit the dark archetype of the woman, very much the Helen. Enough to get my dad's attention, because the guys like that, they need a woman like that. They don't need Bambi. Guys don't fuck with Bambi.
They don't like Bambi.
They don't like Bambi.
They don't want Bambi. They think they want Bambi, but they don't actually want Bambi.
They want their mom to see they have Bambi.
Yeah.
What they want is something completely different.
Don't say that word again.
I'll say the big W word.
I don't like
okay,
that
anyways,
word.
I won't say the word.
I'm in a place for everything, Naftali.
Woman, the wonderful word.
A well-balanced, well-rounded.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a time and a place for everything.
No, it has some punch.
It's like, I'm not going to wear a crop top to a workplace or synagogue. There's a time and a place for everything. And if women understood that, it'd be easier.
You know, the girls that don't wear the crop tops are typically the ones that are the most sexual. Is they're connected to it.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's an energy, and that speaks to it. She could be fucking covered up. You would still be like, okay, what? Ow.
What is going on?
And then you would have to battle all of your projections of, look, she must be a virgin. You're like, probably not. But
she must be a virgin.
It's the Jewish boy quiz. Anyways, so there's this. God. Yeah, she made this really big shift in her life where, you know, she was really miserable. She became manic depressive, and the only way my dad knew how to deal with it was the way he knew how to deal with anything, which is, let's just get other women in the picture, and that should solve the problem.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
But this is also interesting, is that, like,
this
is not a happy story. I didn't come here because of two people who were, you know, had this divine union. No, they were from God.
Did that affect the way you viewed relationships?
It allowed me to recognize relationships.
Interesting.
And the dark side that comes with relationships that I exist with.
Sure.
I am my father's son and my mother's son too.
Yeah. Of course, you're a combo.
And then I used to always about my dad. What an ape! He couldn't be there for my mom. I'm Metro.
Right.
I'm fucking 7 or 8 times more monstrous than my father is.
Sure.
And I integrated that. And by the way, and actually the way that I integrated it was not by trying to be back end with my sexual expression. I understand how important that is for me.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
It's so important to be self-aware.
Well, you love it. She went to the Kabbalah Center one day, and
no way.
In the midst of their incredibly dysfunctional marriage, which still shows up now later in life, which you'll find very beautiful, is that, you know, all debts must be paid.
And they're still married.
All trauma must be processed. Yeah, they're still married.
Beautiful,
yeah. But you know, I'm aware of what happens when a woman separates herself from her dark nature. He becomes the enemy. And that is not a good world.
Very well
especially
said.
When all your sons are men.
Oof.
And what do you think we need? We need love. We're the same thing.
You need that feminine energy
absolutely.
too, for sure.
And that's, by the way,
and when she was like in defense mode, she's just coming from like a masculine place.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Right? And so, I mean, that goes back to the
conversation. And then the boys don't see like that balance, and it throws the equilibrium off for everybody.
Then send them to all boys Jewish school, and then maybe this is going to work well.
Yeah.
Right? And then their only exposure to women was through pornography.
Yeah,
this is only going to get worse.
For sure.
By the way, in a lot of ways, I had to integrate all of that. It gave me more of an horizon to see, not less. And I think that's because I didn't have that mindset collectively. I just said I'm willing to do what's right for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what love is. You know, it's like I'm showing up for what it is. It's the fragmented pieces of myself. And the act of love is not when there's...
Change that thought process.
No, fuck no.
Change that verbiage.
Why?
Did you hear what you just said? It's all the fragmented pieces of myself.
Yes.
What if you said all the most whole pieces of myself, looking for the other equation to make it?
What do you think the process of it is?
Why fragmented? It's so interesting that you use that word. You chose fragmented versus whole. Just think about that.
Well, I would...
Because I would say...
lying if I said I didn't feel a whole.
But that's how you feel, right? But alchemize that.
Well, I'm saying this is what I'm becoming reflective of is what it feels like to actually be met with yourself. It's not this wholeness of you. Technically, yes, I'm in a room with the entirety of all of the pieces I need.
Yeah.
I'm connected to that.
It's just interesting. Because I'm always like, when I meet my person, I want to show up with
I was communicating
my
love
whole
to you.
Pieces.
I was no. When I meet my person, I'm showing up with the whole and I'm saying, baby, get me closer.
Yeah.
That's my life.
Yeah.
Not like, baby, hello, I am whole. I put all the pieces together, duct tape.
I've got it figured it all out.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, the words are so powerful.
Yeah, but I also think that the words I used are very specific because I wanted to describe a much deeper love, which is, let's just say you did find yourself fragmented. I think the most courageous step you could ever take is towards taking up one piece at a time. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's willing to do that is, of course, already whole. They wouldn't take that step if they weren't connected to that truth.
But I think there's no power to saying the words that we choose shape and shift the reality around us.
Maybe I should go back to my mom.
Because by the way, you could feel that way. Like we all have of course we have fragmented things and things that are not, right? But what if we looked at it from a lens of, yes, I have that, obviously.
What if you didn't need a lens and you could see the truth?
But what if the truth can also be beautiful through the lens that you see?
No, but what I'm trying to say is that the
words are powerful.
You're coming in with a lens. The lens is created after an exposure to reality.
I'm not saying to ignore the fragments.
The rose-colored glasses are dangerous. They're very dangerous.
Only if you don't know the other side and you choose to bypass or ignore. Okay. I'm saying show up knowing all of that, but shape shift the words so that your reality matches.
Yeah, I don't. Again,
while being self-aware.
It's hard because I'm saying that those words are very compelling words, but they're not reflective of a reality and the miracle of that reality. I find myself more exposed to the truth of it being what reinforces me. And I was just speaking about my mother for a reason because it's interesting.
She sounds wonderful.
You would love her. You would love everything.
She sounds
about her.
lovely.
You'd love everything about her.
I'm like, she
I don't know,
sounds great.
She might be wrong, so we maybe meet her after.
She sees life from what I'm understanding.
Oh, you guys will bond.
Okay, yeah, this is all real. No one's denying that.
Nature. You guys
but
a whole philosophy around
it's because all that exists. But how do we choose to show up?
I think that's a good question. How do we choose to show up? And I think showing up for that is the highest form of love because what you're showing up for is the part of yourself that you need to love. Mm. And I'll share the story.
But
I'll
that's separate. That has to be done. That person can't do that for you.
Well, I'll explain that. I think that it's elaborate to say that a person likes being them. I struggle with that. There was a point in my life, or even very recently, what the fuck am I saying? A few weeks ago, I don't want to be around me.
Yeah.
When I'm a vicious, mean son of a bitch,
do you want me to coach
you?
Me. I'll do it for free.
No.
I can coach you.
Yeah, I could coach you too. You'd be great.
I'm should we coach each other?
Oh man, that'd be the most destructive thing I could ever think of. I could just accept you, and I would enjoy myself a lot more. You know what I'm saying? I could accept you. There was something very beautiful about
this
it.
Is really fun.
I would say
this is such a good dynamic. It's really entertaining. Yeah, I'm wow, this is we could have a TV show.
Yeah,
it'd be called Jewish Beauty and the Beast.
Jewish Beauty and the Beast. I don't know, man. I really have to say that there's something interesting about Jewish women. Whenever they join my groups, I'm like, oh, fucking buckle up.
Yeah.
Right? Get a seatbelt.
Yeah.
I also think it's definitely very familiar, and I enjoy it. That's the thing that I realized. So I don't fear it, and I used to fear that. I'm drawn to that. It's I'm actually I get behind this.
Yeah. Because they also understand you
you would love it. I wanted to finish the initial story, which was because they also understand me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my mother, she in the midst of this collapsing marriage, she went to the Kabbalah Center of all places. Her friend invited her, and my mother got advice from her grandma who passed away about a year ago. She was 90 something, by the way. I think 28 grandchildren or something, and many great grandchildren too.
Oh, wow.
Remarkable. She was old school. She gives my mom a call. She's like, look, stay at home. don't divorce the guy. You think you could run from this? You can't.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't.
And
I
she
mean,
goes,
it could be an
"Okay."
end to a marriage, sure, but you
My
can't
parents
run
got
from.
remarried. Put
No
it that way. They
way.
got remarried to each other.
No, that's so beautiful.
It came with consequences.
Everything has its stuff, but that's
It is beautiful.
so cool.
It is beautiful.
That's
My dad
so
also
cool.
got a new name, and so did she.
That's so cool.
And remember that these things can be they're very, very
because
beautiful
they felt like
and
they developed
transformative.
and changed over time too. So they felt like a different shift.
Of course.
Wow, that's
And,
really cool.
I mean, it's also reflective of the biblical stories. Like Abraham was Abram, and Sarah was Sarai,
Correct.
and that the incorporation of
Who
age
told
is.
you that you studies?
I'm
Yeah.
studying this. This
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
by the way, the basis of all of my work is,
Yeah.
is biblical trend. It's biblical teachings. It's really all it is. Kabbalistic is different, but we'll
Yes.
get to that later. And well, she went to the Kabbalah Center, and my dad eventually came home and was like, "What the hell's happening?" Right? Like, she was transforming. If you want to know a Beauty and the Beast story, that's a Beauty and the Beast story.
Mhm.
And she started cleaning the house. She wanted more children. She was more feminine. She didn't ask a word of him, which is, by the way, which is interesting. Like, you could only change a man by
If you inspire
inspiring him. And
I love
you
that.
could only inspire the commitment that he made to himself to become the best version of himself.
Mhm.
If a woman has faith in that,
But wait.
She has power in a relationship.
If a man is only looking to be inspired all the time, then they're looking for a mommy. I also believe that too.
A mommy is not a source of inspiration. A mommy is a
Well,
burden.
sometimes men are like, I just only need a woman to inspire me and always be. I'm like, you're looking for a mom. But I do agree, men need to feel inspired, also by other men too.
Of course. Well, I think that the inspiration here, I think love does something powerful. It reminds us of the goodness in ourselves.
Mhm.
And when we experience that, or when somebody is able to make that decision in their life, it transformed their marriage. They had 4 children after.
Mhm.
One passed away at a young age. And then I
Ugh.
have my brother and my twin brother and my older brother. And then I
Yeah.
have 2 half brothers. So there's 7 total.
Yeah, that's a
And-
lot.
Yeah, but it's also really interesting that specifically she only had sons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I also find that also really interesting because her relationship with her mother was very difficult. She had a very harsh, critical mother, and she only had sisters. And she was kind of like Cinderella, but Cinderella is a dangerous story if you're not integrated.
Yeah.
Like, you can get the wrong, you could remove the wrong takeaways from stories.
Mhm.
I feel this is the basis of a conversation. This is really what I wanted to end it off on, because I don't know where we last talked about. ADHD is a hell of a drug.
Sure is.
And it was just you can really expand these conversations into these areas. Like, it's not foreign to any man or woman that wants to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And at least if this conversation is being had here, I definitely know for certain that you won't have to feel crazy. Because I think that feeling of feeling crazy is something you're going to have to accept if you want to say anything true,
Beautiful.
especially if you want to have a real conversation. If that's
An
not going to...
authentic conversation.
Exactly. Because I feel like we just need to remove a lot of... There's just like so many... There's too much fluff. It's like, you want to be in an intimate relationship? Well, then just agree that you're going to show up as a psychiatric patient and you might be in love, right? But if you're going to deny all the other painful relationships of your life and not show up to this one, like as if you don't have all of those painful experiences,
Yeah.
you won't know love.
Yeah, that's why it's really important. I
Yeah.
always tell women too, like when you start dating someone, like, sure, it's important to like know their favorite color and like all that's cute. And I like that stuff too. But really, try to get deep quick to see if they're even capable of doing it, because it's important. It's important to know what people's pain points are and what makes them tick and what
Mhm.
makes people happy. And this is part of like the beauty of life. Like, what trauma have you experienced? And did you do the work? And if you haven't, like, how are you going to get there? Like, we're all supposed to help each other.
Yeah, the work that love requires is a very, very beautiful, transformative path. And I think it's a path that lets us see the goodness in ourselves.
Yeah, it's not enough to just make money and live a 3D life, It's like, that's just as imperative. It's cool.
Wonderful, Liz. I love arguing with you, speaking with you, and I think we should do this again.
Yay. Thanks.